What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? First of all, let me start by saying it seems like the last intro episode 0, really, it was really well received. So that's always awesome. It's always awesome to see some positive feedback, I suppose. At least I got some positive comments, whatever that means. But anyways, I digress. I'm trying to get this one cracking. I'm running short on time this week. So this week's episode is actually a two-parter. And I probably shouldn't start by saying that. I should probably just said that in the outro. Food for thought for the next time. Anyways, so for those of you that follow my other podcasts, this might all sound somewhat familiar. The reason why that is because these are actually excerpts from that podcast. And the reason why I'm uploading them here is that at the time when filming these for the other podcast, I was kind of getting my beak wet, if you will, on the interviewing other people for the podcast. So the podcast was still organically figuring out what it was going to become, and it became something a little bit different than what would naturally this podcast would go into. It's not the right type of podcast. So I decided when I initially re-uploaded my other podcast into iTunes to pull these episodes, primarily because they have a different feel. They have different kind of basically feel. They're completely different than the other episodes. The other episodes are way more jovial, way more lighthearted, a lot more of just basically locker room talk. So when I re-uploaded the other ones to iTunes, I already had an idea for this podcast, so I thought I would yank those, pull them into these, give you a little bit more context as to what the ideas were behind. But you will notice that during these episodes, you'll also find that Ruben, my co-host for the other podcast, is part of the interviewing process, and you'll see that it's a mix of something more serious with a mix of the other podcasts. And so there's some jovialness, there's definitely some funny parts in it, and there's also the primary factor of interviewing somebody for whatever purpose. And on this episode, we're interviewing a buddy of mine, Eric, who talks about his experience with military. He joined the Navy, which you'll quickly learn about, and his experiences, both positive and negative, after now being no longer part of the military. The reason why it's a two-part episode is primarily because it's so long. For some of you, you'll really enjoy it because you'll have way more content for your probably work day. And for others, you'll be like, wow, this is really long. So I apologize for those ahead of time. What else? I guess that's it for now. I'll touch base with you guys on the outro, but I really want to just give you guys a little bit of context as to why this has a possibly different feel than what you may have gotten from the intro episode. Additionally, I will be putting in some context at the end of the podcast as to when you should expect the next episode. I'm feeling like I should release these two relatively quickly, primarily because they kind of go together. Oh, that's my phone. So anyways, that's it. I'll let you guys enjoy the podcast episode versus listening to me. I'll not see you guys, but I will, you'll listen to me at the end. Smooth, Jonathan, smooth. So I've been going with it. What are you talking about? So there's like it grows, but a lot of the time, like I've been trying to get interviewers to come in and do this, but it's trying to get people that like have a knowledge in something is difficult. And a lot of times, I feel like we're gonna have to fucking move at some point. A lot of times, we get trying to get somebody that has like an opinion on something. We can a little bit. A lot of times getting an opinion of somebody who like has a knowledge in something is hard. Like we can pick somebody and talk about them, but at some point the conversation dries up.
Right.
And then you're like, well, okay, and then you're down to that dumb shit that I was avoiding with work where it's like, so how's the weather today? It's crazy, right?
Yeah, no, I feel you. It's you get to a point where you're just like, hey, or you just the head nods.
Yeah.
Like when you pass the same people over and over again, like you don't even speak at some point. Like
That's
you just
one thing.
kind of avoid eye contact.
Yeah, that's one thing I see at work all the time, dude. You like we walk by people and like you just don't even acknowledge each other anymore. It's like you just walk by and you either look away or you're just like hi, and even a smile sometimes. Like you're like, is that a real smile? Is that a fake smile? Is that an acknowledgement? What are we doing here? Like human nature in America has gotten very, very weird.
Autonomous.
Yeah, yeah,
Very autonomous.
It's becoming routine.
Yeah, and I saw like something similar when I was in college. I mean, you know, I just got out of the military, so I guess maybe my mentality was different, but it feels like I don't want to say like I went back in time or like I was kept like in jail or something, you know, but like it was like being released to the wild again.
Well, there is a little bit of that, right?
I mean, kind of. I guess like socially, I was never much of a social person in school. Like that's why I partied, and then I'd get drunk and I'd become a lot more sociable. But as far as like, I've always kind of had like my insecurities as far as like being social. Like my biggest I don't know if it's concern. My biggest thing was that I never really kind of knew like how to act
Socially?
Yeah, kind of, because I'll get like out of control. I'll get on some really like fucked up topics, and I'll just let myself keep going, and to the point where people were like, "Did you just say that?" Like, yeah, I did just say that.
Is that because it's not socially acceptable?
I don't know. Maybe depends on the subject we're talking about. I just feel like a lot of people have told me like I just don't have a filter because I'll just let things out.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
And I try, and that's when like when I really get around people I enjoy being around, like the filter just completely goes away and I just fucking let loose. And it's just like I don't really think about what I say. It's just kind of how I feel at the time or what I think at the time. And I think that's better. I mean, I think we live in a cookie cutter world where people are sugarcoating everything. And it's like people get upset. Like really genuinely get upset about their feelings when you say something that offends them.
You know, we definitely live in a very, what's this term? Snowflake? Like in a very snowflake society right now where you have to have a safe space if you feel uncomfortable to relax in. And it's a very unique situation. Like right now, I can't imagine going to college right now. Like worrying about...
That's why I stopped going.
Yeah. Like going to a situation where you don't know if you should be using she, him, it's like whatever.
If you ever have to even think that...
It was like socially, it's so
say what
weird,
you gotta
man.
Say, man. Because you know what? In the end, you know, I heard something, I don't know when, but I started to say it more, and I'm starting to believe it more, that if you say something that offends me, or if I don't like you, like that's a me problem, not a you problem. If you don't like me, well, that's a you problem, not a me problem. Anything that you do that has an effect on me, that's my fucking problem, and that's something I got to deal with.
Interesting,
right? It's true though.
I gotta crunch that in my head a little bit more, but you might be right.
Because if I let anybody, it doesn't matter what, if I let anybody have an effect on me, that's a me problem. That means I have a problem controlling something with my emotions or my anger or my frustrations. It's kind of the same thing, but.
In a way, right? Like you do lend power to people when you let them get under your skin.
That's exactly what it is.
Because, for example, I was listening to that stupid Carrie Underwood song. I don't know why it was on the radio. The one which is the one that she beats up her boyfriend's truck.
That's her only song, you mean?
Yeah, I was listening to that stupid song. But I was thinking about that. I'm like, she destroys his truck. She keys up his truck, whatever the fuck the song says.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if the guy would have came out with the new chick and he's seen his truck like beat up, and then would have been like, all right, let's go take an Uber back to my place. We're going to fuck anyways. Like... Ultimately, that wouldn't have pissed her off anymore. Like, she would have been like, fuck, it ain't gonna get under her skin, right? Like,
yeah.
If he would have circumvented that whole thing, it would have been like, whatever. Then he still would have had to fix the truck, but ultimately, he would have still got his way, and she would have been pissed off that he got his way. So he would have not given her the power to get mad.
Well, what if she would have just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna fuck all your friends now instead?
That's a possibility, too.
Also a possibility.
All right, so I guess we should get into it.
You didn't say an intro. We just started talking.
Okay, so you and I take classes together. And so you had a very interesting, like, mindset on like the military, because you're ex-military. So I don't know how much of yourself you want to talk about, like personal details. But so let's start in the beginning, and if you want to give details about yourself, you can. You're more than welcome to. Because you and I got into interesting talk about like the SEALs and all kinds of stuff. But you were in the military for like how long?
About 6 years.
6 years. So how old are you when you went in?
I was 20.
20.
I had to do an extra year in high school. That's why I was 20. I'm super smart. I was one of those kids that fucked off. And when push came to shove, when they were like, you want to drop out and start working, I was kind of like, well, when you say it like that, not really. Like, I really do like want to accomplish something.
Right.
I just felt like nobody ever gave a shit. Like nobody wanted to help me. And if it wasn't for my English teacher, like I was always like, you guys throw me in like English literature. We learn about fucking Shakespeare and Macbeth. How the fuck does that have anything to do with English? You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't even know how to use punctuation marks and how to write. You know what I mean? I'm like, and you guys are on, and you wonder why I'm failing. I don't even know what I'm doing. And so they put me in like this practical English class, which was full of a bunch of other real super smart stellar performers. And but he happened to be the wrestling coach too, so he's kind of a hard ass. And he just kind of demonstrated over the, I guess what the year or whatever I was in school, that he actually, I kind of always needed that, like male mentorship, companionship, somebody to like hold me accountable and break off in my ass if you're acting like a fucking idiot.
I think males need that to a certain extent, for sure.
Yeah, especially if you didn't have like a very positive father figure around, which I kind of lacked. But he was really cool, and one day I came in fucking high as shit. I used to get blazed out in the morning and go in class.
Maybe that was your English problem.
Yeah, that's probably a lot of my problems. I was just, typical teenager, didn't give a fuck about anything. I was angry at the world.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, you feeling all right? He's like, I need to talk to you on the hall. And I'm like, okay. He's like, are you feeling all right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. He's like, because if you need to go home, like, I understand. And like, I didn't really get what he's getting at. And I was like, I feel fine. And he kind of asked me, he's like, I'm going to ask you again. And he's like, I feel fine, And I genuinely was confused. Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And then he's like, all right. He's like I said, though, if you need to go home, I understand. And I'll, put you down sick, then you go home. And then I'm like, no, I feel good. And then like he kind of like looked at me. He's like, use some fucking Visine, idiot. And like it dawned on me what he was doing. I was like, oh shit.
He's giving you an out.
Yeah. So he helped out a lot. Like I stayed after class. He helped me figure out like what I was doing wrong. And then I'd actually gotten in some trouble at the time, and I had to see this like probation psychologist and with a bunch of other fucking retard kids, and all of them were like, this guy's a fucking douche, this guy's a dick, blah blah blah. And I'm sitting in this room like looking at all these punk ass kids. I'm like, I guess I'm one of these guys. I'm like, it's really not. Like all you have to do is just shut the fuck up and do what they're telling you to do, and you'll be out of this, and you can go back to doing whatever you guys want to do. So that's basically what I did. And he was actually one of the guys who was like, you know what? He looked at my grades, like all F's since 7th grade and whatever, and was like, Jesus. I'm like, dude, I don't do well in school. Like, I can't just sit there and learn. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not my thing. I'm way too hyper. And then he's like, okay, well, let's get you started and let's get you working. Let's get you a GED. I'm like, I don't really want to quit. Like, I'd like to prove, for my grandparents, I'd like to show them like I could be the first of my brothers and sisters and my cousins graduate from high school. It's kind of a big deal. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, he kind of showed me how to use the planner. He's like, you're going to come in here once a week. I'm going to hold you accountable for your grades, and you're going to turn it around. He's like, it's not that hard. And he's like, you could do this. I was like, okay. And I'd quit smoking weed, and I was like, I really wanted to just get out of trouble and not be that guy. So he's like, so what's going on with homework? He's like, I'm like, dude, I can't do homework. I'm like, I've never had a good home environment, I'd fucking, when I was a kid, I'd go home, hey, Dad, can you help me with my homework? Fucking ask your mom. Fuck out of here. And then I'd ask my mom. She's like, "Oh no, I don't know, honey. I'm too fucking high. I can't help you do shit right now." So guess what? I didn't do homework.
Right.
And it's weird how we're just creatures of like habit and patterns. And what if you just keep doing something long enough, it just becomes second nature. You don't even think about it. You just know what to do. So he's like, kind of looked at me like kind of confused, scratched his head. He's like, if you can't do homework at home, he's like, then don't go home. Don't leave school until it's done. And I was like, wow, that actually makes a lot of fucking sense. How come I never thought of that? So that's what I started doing. And then I just started doing all my assignments, and I started filling out this planner, and he told me to start scratching everything off, and I was done with it. And every Friday I'd go in and do it. And within no time, I was getting straight A's. And then my English teacher I was telling you about, he calls me over to the desk one day after class. He's like, "Hey, let me speak to you after class." I was like, "All right." And bell rings, everyone leaves. He's like, "Come here, I want you to see something." And like he has like my grades pulled up, and he's like, "Here's your grades like 6 months ago or whatever." And he's like, "Here's your grades now." I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Here's your grades last year. Here's your grades the year before, and here's your grades the year before." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You went from practically having straight F's to having straight A's." I'm like, okay. I don't think what you're getting at here. I'm like, because I actually had some people trying to help me out. I'm like, I didn't really do much. He's like, "I think you've actually done a lot." He's like, this is fucking remarkable. And I was like, I didn't get it. I'm like, I don't really think it's a remarkable. I was just doing what I was supposed to do. Somebody actually held me accountable for once.
Right.
Like I realized how much I needed that and appreciated that. And then after 9/11, I wanted to go in the military anyway. So it just kind of made sense. And like, I wanted to do that. Like I need that structure. I mean, I'd still be in there today if it wasn't a bunch of fucking bullshit. But
So what grade were you in when 9/11 happened?
I believe I was a sophomore. I was 16, so I believe I was a sophomore. And like, I don't know, probably 6 months or 9 months after that, I don't know, man, as high school kept going on, high school's a fucked up time for some kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of kids.
Through hormone changes, body changes, the social scene. Like, I fucking hated the social scene. I've always had, like, a fuck you mentality towards everybody. Like, I've always kind of kept my circle pretty small.
Yeah.
Like, I might associate with some people, but, like, I don't hang out with a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, I've always tried to even at school, like, I always tried, when you're young, there's some tough guy bullshit and stupid shit, but even then, like, I always try to kind of just get along with everybody. It only made sense, you know what I mean? Now, why make more friends than enemies?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good philosophy in life.
Yeah.
I mean, it keeps, like, drama-free is the way to be. I hate drama. I hate fucking bullshit.
I'm right there with you, dude.
Like, if somebody, like, that's what I'd always deal with in, like, in high school. Like, if you want to get tough, fucking do something. Everybody wants to run their mouth. Like, I'm not about that at all.
I hear you.
We'll
Any girl I've ever dated knows that that's my philosophy. I'm like, I hate fucking drama.
Save
the moment I got drama, I'm
for
over
your
this.
Mama. You know, like, but it was interesting. So I was like, I got angry and angrier, and like watching that shit happen. Like, 9/11 was a crazy time, and now we live in a world where we got fucking kids running around. They were still in the nutsack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't even.
Yeah.
They don't even understand. Like, how old are you? You're probably the same age.
Yeah, we're the same. Well, he's a little younger than I am, but
Yeah, like a few months younger.
Okay.
yeah. So he's just turned 30, right?
So what, you guys were like 13 when that happened?
We were freshmen.
We're a freshman.
Yeah, we were freshmen. Yeah. So you're
So,
one.
I was a sophomore, maybe a junior, like somewhere around that time frame. Was I 16, going on maybe?
It changed the country.
17? Oh, dude,
The feeling changed.
Yeah, dude, and for like months, like everyone was like, fucking.
Everybody had the
America,
stickers. Remember the
we're gonna
stickers?
fucking kill fucking everybody.
Yeah, no,
fuck
that
this.
was exactly it. We're gonna kill everybody. It didn't matter who, just everybody.
And it's
Everybody had the stickers in the cars.
Yeah.
Remember everybody selling bumper stickers for the cars? Every single car had a bumper sticker.
yeah, united we stand, never forget. And then now look, fucking forgotten. No one gives a shit.
Yeah, that's insane.
Muslim sympathizers everywhere.
Well, I think some of it too is also that we've added confusion too with that whole event, and a lot of conspiracy theories involved, and a lot of people wondering if there's something going on. And additionally, and then we're also starting to think that there's more. I think it's more common now that people are more open to the idea that there is some government kind of in situation and influence going on in there somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know how to address this subject because I kind of feel like I should tread lightly.
Right. So we'll get back to high school. So you saw high school and you saw 9/11 and you said like I need to do something about this. And I think that was a lot of people's inkling at the moment,
Yeah,
right?
and it was before I kind of got in trouble. I was just, I don't know, man. I was at a point. Me and my mom were just butting heads. My mom got in some trouble, like legally, and like it just lost her job. And just, I don't know, me and her lived with my uncle, who was a fucking diehard alcoholic, who's also a manic depressive. And so, like, coming home to a dude, like, every night that's just fucking hammered and, like, he looks like he just wants to fucking destroy you. We never got in a fight or nothing like that, at least, like, physically, but, like, there was a lot of verbal stuff and just, like, he was just mean to my fucking mom all the time, and I felt like I could never do anything because we'd be out on the streets and nowhere to live, moving back to my grandma's house. So, like, I just bit my tongue, and, like, I just kind of dealt with it, and he was very much an asshole for many years, but at the same time, like, I was probably a fucking asshole too, you know what I mean? But 9/11 happened, some months went by, and I was like, fuck it. I hit a point, I don't know what, it's probably some girl problems too involved.
That's always a variable, right?
Fucking, yeah, my first, like, girlfriend, and she was a real winner. That was a fucking disaster. That was a bomb going off on my mind and on my heart.
Women are easy for men, like a way to just completely just swirl things up in your head so easily, dude, man.
Like, honestly, like, I don't know. She's had her own struggles in life. I don't look back and say, you know, like, I'm 32 years old now. I'm not looking at her. And I see her back home when I go home and we talk, and I wasn't friends with her or anything like that, but, like, all my hatred for her is gone. Like,
right. You almost have to, right? Like, at some point
shit.
you have to.
I mean, yeah. Well, there was a lot of fucked up shit, and I won't get into it all. But there was a lot of fucked up shit, and just after that was another, like, fuck it. I had a moment. We had this Marine Corps recruiter that would come around our school, and he was a fucking badass. Had a fucking bullet hole in his face.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I was like, wow. But he was super calm, super nice guy, and I was like, look, dude, I'm thinking about joining the Marine Corps. And he's like, all right. So we went out, had some, like, lunch once or twice, we talked, and he told me kind of about himself and how he was, like, in force reconnaissance, and fucking dude could speak like 5 different languages.
Wow.
Like, he was an impressive guy. And he started telling me all kinds of just, like, he almost did the opposite of recruiting. You know what I mean? I think kind of what happened, he was telling me about himself and how he, like, they put him in recruiting to kind of, like, de-escalate this guy and kind of get him back to, he had been through some shit. And I think they were trying to just help him rehabilitate back to society a bit, if that makes sense.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, that's interesting they would choose to put him in that situation.
Yeah, because kids can help you out, man. Like, kids can really, like, change everything about, like, they'll really make you calm down. And so when I worked for the school district, they'd ask me all the time. Like, I went to a couple different job interviews. At the initial one I got hired at, and then another one that I was trying to transfer for. Like, they're like, how do you feel about, you know, working around children? I'm like, oh, kids are easy, man. I'm like, fucking adults are more childish than children. Like,
in many ways,
kids,
right?
Yeah, kids you can't get mad at them because they don't understand. They don't know what they're doing. It's adults that you're being a vindictive piece of shit. Like, you're deliberately trying to get back at somebody for something they did to you, and that's fucking wrong.
Right, like, kids, there's a certain, like, ignorance, and it's not a bad ignorance, it's just an ignorance of the circumstances versus, like, adults who do it for spites or for whatever intentions they're trying to get.
Right?
Yeah,
they can scream and yell. I mean, kids, but, like, they can scream and yell, and there's times where we're like, fucking God, I want to put a bullet in my head. But yeah, at the same time, like, they need somebody to show them how to be. My dad never really did a lot of that. He was the exact opposite. He actually showed me a lot of what not to be, which is kind of a good thing, but also not very good because at a younger age, I was fucking nuts. I was mad all the time.
Well, when you're young, it's like you got two choices. When you see behavior like that, you either try to like mimic it because you think that's what you're supposed to do, or you look at it and analyze it and say, I need to do the opposite of this.
No, it's exactly monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
So it was interesting working with that recruiter for a little while, just talking bullshit mostly. He's like, what would you want to do? I'm like, fucking give me a machine gun. That's all I want to do.
It's like the Halo mentality. Like Halo came out around our age, and it's like everybody wanted.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, everybody wanted to go in.
And I think that's another kind of interesting subject. But I think what happened was the guy kind of saw like a former version of himself, and he's like. I was still 16, maybe had just turned 17, and he's like, you're not even 18 years old, man. I'm like, I'm ready to go tomorrow, dude. Like, I fucking hate school. My home life sucks. I got nothing going on.
Was this before you turned your grades around?
Yeah. Okay. This was before all that happened, and that's when we were talking, and he was kind of like, basically telling me some stuff about like special operations and how like. They're a little bit better avenue to get into if combat is what you want to do. And I was like, okay. And he's like, most people don't really realize this. He's like, they don't talk about this openly. He's like, but when you stack up on a door with a team full of guys, like you got a really high probability of getting shot by one of your own teammates. It's just this close confinement with weapons, you know what I mean? And some of these guys aren't the highest trained individuals. Like, that's a different mentality when you get into like, at the time it was like Force Reconnaissance, which is now MARSOC. I don't really know the Marine Corps' aspect of special operations. But he's like, you're not even 18. He's like, and it's kind of difficult to get minors in. He's like, I could do it. He's like, but would your parents sign off on it? And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I could make my mom do it. Like I'd drive her to the point where she'd just be like, get the fuck out of here. I want you gone. And he's like, fuck. And he ended up telling me, like, if this is something you want to do, then that's fine. He's like, if you want my opinion, he's like, I think you should stay in high school, get your diploma, and if this is something you want to do still, he's like, then come talk to me. He's like, but you dropping out of school now and just joining the Marine Corps, not even getting an adult diploma or nothing, he's like, this is going to have effects on you later. And he's like, honestly, let me tell you something. The Marine Corps ain't fucking going anywhere, and this war ain't going anywhere.
Oh, yeah. I think we miss out. Like, there's those key people in your life who, like, sometimes help guide you in certain spots, and it seems like that teacher was definitely one of those for you. Yeah. And maybe even this guy was one for you.
Yeah, no, I've learned that, like, I don't know, everything happens in life for a reason, whether you like that or not. Like, you meet people in life that have, like, some type of gravitational pull on you in one way or another, and it's not by happenstance. Absolutely not. You know what I mean? So, I mean, because who knows? Like, I've met strangers out of nowhere, you know what I mean, that would say something to you that's just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, did you really just, like, say that? Because it had to do or something in a way that was...
It just fits a puzzle that you've been working on?
Yeah. Like, this is not coincidence. And there's a lot of people that want to believe that, though. They want to believe that shit's just coincidence, and... I mean, if that's what you think, then that's what you think. But I'm past that point in my life.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like the higher level of education you have going in, like it also affects your pay in the military, right?
It depends, man. It depends on like what you get into. If you go in as an officer, sure. As an enlisted, I don't know. Like, there's so much stuff they'll give you like in contract, but it depends on the job you do. Excuse me, but I don't look back at that and say, like, I mean, maybe they would have gave you, like, I don't say it affects your pay, but like if you had some college or something, they may start you off instead of like as an E1, you might be able to get like E2 or E3, and all that stuff's kind of negotiable.
So when you go in there, like you can negotiate like what you're gonna get. Is how much leeway you have?
If you have somebody goes with you that knows what they're doing, there's a lot of leeway. But the problem is nobody knows what they're doing. And parents, if they weren't in some time in their life, they don't really know what they're doing. And they have a way of, everyone says, oh, my recruiter lied to me. There's kind of like this, I wouldn't say my recruiter lied to me, but at the same time, like, if you know you're misleading the truth, wouldn't you call that a lie?
Yeah.
They'll kind of tell you enough of the truth to be like, okay, but
what do you feel like that he didn't fill you in on?
I ended up signing an extra 2-year re-enlistment.
Automatically?
Yeah, well, he told me that I had to, basically, because, well, here's how it works. So when you go in to, like, and this is, for what I'm speaking of, it's like for the Navy, because that's all I know about. Like other branches of service, I'm sure there's something similar. But when you want to do what's considered a special program, so for the Navy, it's SEAL, SWIC, EOD, diver, I think rescue, like crewmen for helicopters, anything that's like a special program, you have to do what's called an obligation of service, meaning upon your completion of training, you will obligate in an additional amount of time because training was so long, because they're extensive programs.
Right, so you still have like a commitment to perform some sort of service, because most of the initial 2 years you're going to be training.
Yeah, I mean, just getting in through BUDS and SQT and getting in the SEAL team is, roughly a 2-year pipeline, roughly a year and a half. Just depends, like if you get hurt, if you get rolled, for whatever reason. So it can be a year and a half, 2-year pipeline. And so upon that completion date, you're obligated to serve an additional amount of months, which for theirs at the time was like 51 months. But so if you already have some time left on your contract, then you're going to need this extra time. But like, he told me that I should just sign now because I'd get the re-enlistment bonus for it now. And which was a kind of a scam, because out of a $5,000 re-enlistment bonus, I got like $2,600.
Well, first of all, why didn't you get the full $5,000?
Because they tax it.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't you get that anyways at re-enlistment time?
Yes, but it's different with an obligation of service. But yeah, you're still at some point, if your time's up, you're gonna re-enlist. So yes and no. Honestly, if you make it through a special program, your re-enlistment bonus would be higher. So instead of being like, hey, I need to re-enlist for like a year and a half, which at the time basically was like the obligation of service that I would have had to done had I made it through that program the first time around. So, I go in so many months in boot camp, so many months in this other school, and then if you go right to BUDS from there, then you're looking at 6 months of BUDS, 6 months or more like SQTA, pending.
So let me stop you there. BUDS, for those that are listening that don't know, is like the special program or special ops training,
basic
right?
underwater demolition SEAL training.
And that's all what like special ops guys have to go through?
That's what you go through if you want to be a SEAL.
Okay, so like all the other ones you named, the ones I didn't recognize.
SWIC, they have, so it's, the Navy has SEAL, SWIC, EOD, diver, and air crewmen.
They'd all have to go through BUDS.
No, they all have to go through their own programs.
Okay, so that's specifically for SEALs.
Yeah, BUDS, that's why it's basic underwater demolition SEAL training.
Okay.
SWIC is special warfare combatant craft crewmen. They take SEALs and other special ops out on gunboats, and whether it's on the ocean or rivers, stuff like that.
So why are SEALs like the most well known? Is because they do the most highly specialized stuff? Because I've never heard of SWIC, you said?
Yeah, SWIC is honestly, like, they're bad fucking dudes, man. They're bad. It's a mini BUDS. I mean, they're doing the same shit that we were doing. It's just instead of doing the full hell week that they do, it's like a 3.5 day or 4 day hell week, which is still fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that's what he wanted to do. We were in a training program in Virginia, and it was for all of us, for SEAL, diver, EOD, SWIC. Anybody who wanted to go in those special programs, we could go there and train with dudes that were in the SEAL teams or EOD, and we worked out and helped them out with stuff around their offices, and helped them logistically with some of their planning stuff, and we were kind of just like extra grunts for them when they needed muscle or they needed bodies for stuff. But we got the opportunity to get kind of an inside view of the community and work out, get ready physically and mentally for this program. So we'd swim and run and PT every day. It was a really good program. And my buddy, he wanted to go SWIC, and he did it, made it first time, fucking killed it in SWIC. From what I know, he made it over to DevGru, which is the Naval Special Warfare Development Group. That's like top tier shit. And that's not what they call themselves now, but essentially that's what they were called. So he went over there. I haven't talked to him in years, but he was doing that. But I mean, that program's no joke either. You know what I mean? To answer your question, why SEALs are most well known, Hollywood movies. I mean, they're bad motherfuckers. But I don't understand. They do different stuff than Green Berets and Rangers and Marine Corps Recon, but they're good at what they do, and that's kind of why they've gotten the reputation, because their warriors are fucking fierce. I mean, the guys that have died doing what they do, I mean, they have left a legacy behind, because they don't go out quietly. You know what I mean? And
the team that took down Osama, what was that? What special team was that?
That's what I was telling you, Dev Group. It was previously, and like it's kind of known as SEAL Team 6. But that's not their name anymore. But that's just like, that's an unofficial title. Just like for the Army, they have Delta Force. They don't go by that anymore. That's an unofficial title. But I mean, they still call them that in small circles, or maybe, civilians still know them as Delta Force. From the last that I know, they called them was CAG, Combat Applications Group. So it's this DevGru is what Team 6 kind of grew to be known as when they changed their name. I don't really have the answer to those questions. It's more of like for operational security reasons they changed their names.
Interesting. Makes sense.
And it's also like they were kind of supposed to be like tactics development guys. Like they were all hand-picked special operations. So like you don't even get into Dev Group if you weren't already in the SEAL teams. Like you have to get into the SEAL teams just to get hand selected to be in that team. So like honestly, if you're trying to get into those programs, I mean that's kind of where you want to go.
Yeah, so it's like more of a condensed, like they're handpicked from the special guys to be a special group. It's not
the best of the best.
Yeah. So, all right. So you enlisted, then you went to where?
Well, where do you want me to tell you?
So you went to training where? Where they usually send Navy?
Well, for the Navy, they send all the recruits out to Naval Station Great Lakes, which is Recruit Training Command, RTC, and that's where you go through your fucking boot camp. And for some guys, they call it A school, but that's like your whatever rate. They call it a rate. In the Navy, it's a rate. And Army, I don't know what the Air Force calls it, but the Army and the Marine Corps, it's a MOS. I honestly couldn't even tell you what MOS stands for off the top of my head. But it's just the title of your job position. Like so in the Navy, it's a rate. I was an Engineman, an EN. So Engineman A school was in Great Lakes, so I stayed there. So after boot camp, depending on your rate, is when they send you to your A school. So some guys go to like Pensacola, Florida. I think some guys go to Mississippi. Some guys go to San Diego. It just depends on where your A school is at. Mine was in Great Lakes. I kind of stayed out there. I actually had a girlfriend I was seeing out there at the time. I mean, I saw her for the whole time I was in the Navy. But that's where I went initially was Great Lakes, and then after that I got sent to Norfolk, Virginia. So
despite whatever you sign up for, so even if you're like a front infantry guy or if you're a tech of some sort, you're still going through the boot camp, right? Like you're not escaping that.
No, you have to go through boot camp. Now it's a little different now. The Navy's kind of And again, I only speak for the Navy because I don't know
the
other branches of service. But for the Navy, like if you want to get into like, I know at least for the SEAL program, they use it like to me, and I'm not the only guy who's thought of this. Like they use that program as a massive recruiting tool. Because they know that so many guys are going to get in there and not make it, and they can send them wherever the Navy wants to send them. Like you don't get to choose a job. You just go in, you say, oh, I want to be a SEAL. They're like, okay, we'll send you to this. You do a PT test, and if you pass, they'll put you in this. They'll give you orders to go to a BUDS class. So what they were doing is putting all those guys together in boot camp. So it was like one giant boot camp that was all going to BUDS. And
wow.
Which I don't know if it's more beneficial or not, or if it's had any effect. Like they've sat down and told us stuff about like how basically like there's no way to determine with anything like who's going to make it through these selection programs,
right?
Because it's a test of fucking intestinal fortitude and character, and your thinking ability. I mean, anybody can be tough. It's not about being tough. Like tough is.
But see, man, in today's society, I disagree with you.
Yeah, but there's different variations of tough.
Right. But how many guys are like, I mean, we even see it in class too. How many guys are like, I'm super tough, man. I'll take anybody down.
Yeah, but there's a lot of bravado with that terminology, tough. And like, I've seen tough motherfuckers, me too. You fucking quit.
Yeah.
Because it becomes a mental game that if you don't know how to use your head, if you don't know how to think, it'll overwhelm you to a point where like you feel like a child.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
everybody's got a breaking point, right? Like,
sure, but some people also can just keep pushing to a point where, and I've done it. I've watched myself do it. This is why I think a lot of guys in my predicament, like you kind of kick yourself in the ass for the rest of your life because, you fucking cracked at a moment of weakness, and I'm not, I own my mistake. I own what I did. No, I don't blame me quitting on anybody in the world except me. But I didn't know how to think at that time. You know what I mean? And that's what they do. So like we would sit down in these classes during what do you call it? Like BUDS prep, and they'd tell us about how like we were doing like psychological tests because there was some company who figured out they swore they could determine based on a psychological profiling test who was going to make it and who wasn't. And you know what? Bullshit. Because some people's motivation and some people's determination is different. Like just because somebody might have thoughts that are different than other people's, and I don't know really how they thought they were going to determine that. But it's just confidence in yourself and also knowing how to be rational and control yourself, control your emotions, control what you're thinking and feeling, so you can fucking push it out of the way and take care of the task at hand. Because more often than not, I met guys that you wouldn't think, but we're gonna make it. Those are the guys that made it. And then you do have occasionally some guys you're like, this guy's a fucking beast, he's gonna make it. But I've seen a lot of beasts not make it, and that doesn't mean that they still weren't beasts. There were dudes that were. One of the guys in my class was he signed a pro fighter like a year later. I mean, he'd been training MMA for all through his teenage years and into adulthood. I mean, the guy'd been doing jiu-jitsu and kickboxing for fucking over 10 years each, you know what I mean? Before he went to BUDS, and he didn't make it. So it's just interesting. I don't know. It's like dropping dominoes or something, you know what I mean?
So what happens to the guys that like want to enlist in BUDS, they go to that prep training school thing, and then they fail it? Do they go back to basic training?
No, that's what I was telling you. Like the Navy used it as like a massive recruiting tool. I'm convinced of that, because why not? Like why have people come in and say, oh, well, I don't want to do those jobs, so I'm not going to join the Navy, when they could be like, oh, I'm going to be in the SEAL teams. They don't make it, and the Navy says, okay, now we're sending you to wherever we need you. So, and that's basically what happened. So for me, I went in on the back end of things changing. Like I was like when I went in, it still was done the old fashioned way, which was you had to go in under what was called a source rating, and there was like a sheet of jobs that were source ratings, and I didn't qualify for 3 of the ones that I wanted to do that had anything to do with firearms.
Okay.
And that's where I got kind of stuck, ended up picking Engineman. So I had to pick a job, and I had to go to A school, and then from there, because I didn't pass the screening test the first time when I was in Great Lakes, they sent me to the fleet. So I had to do 2 years in the fleet before I could even try out again to go to Buds.
So at that point, do they pick what you're going to do?
They pick where you're going to go. Like, what I'm going to do, that's my job, the EN, the rate. That's what you're going to do. It's just where, it's like billets. They have billets opened up, every so often. And they have, say, we have 35 Engineman billets for E1 to E3 with the experience that you have, which is essentially a seaman, but they call us firemen. So you don't really get a choice. Your detailer is like, oh, you're going here. Now there's all the stipulations. You can kind of work with them. If somebody knows your detailer, like their buddies, you can always phone calls can be made. But when you're the unfortunate fuck like I was that didn't know shit and had no idea what the fuck to do, I was like crushed because I was convinced, dude, that like I was going to Buds right when I joined the Navy.
Yeah.
And my recruiter was like, oh, all you got to do is volunteer. They're going to have a day at the pool where you volunteer. And like they did, but it was fucking, it was a shit show. And nobody ever told me that I could have gone down to the pool and trained with the dudes like that were on staff there for that program because they have a small pool at Great Lakes there that they use for what's called the dive motivators. It's all the guys that wanted to get into special programs in the Navy, whether it was SEAL SWIC, EOD, diver, air crew. You could go there before reveille, so before 6 a.m. You could wake up like 4, go down there, PT with those guys, and then you go back to your division. Because all you essentially have to do is pass the screening test, and then we can start the process to get you into Buds.
Okay.
Why? I didn't know that. Nobody explained that to me during boot camp, and it wasn't until after I got out of boot camp, went over across the street, started kind of PTing with some guys that were in this program, and then that's when I was like, oh, so I can go down there any time and work out with you guys? They're like, yeah, basically. And by then, I didn't have much time left. I was like, okay, so I started doing that. Well, it takes a while, you know what I mean? If you're not in good shape, like it takes a while to get in that shape, and their screening test is pretty physically demanding, especially because you got to swim.
So what is it? What's the screen test?
Let's see, it's 500 yard swim. Don't quote me on the times, but I think it's 12 or 14 minutes. That's the cutoff. So all these things are going to be, like I tell you, these are the minimums. So it's like 12 or 14 minutes. I want to say 14, but I'm not sure. And then you got 10 minutes from the swim to change out and be outside in pants and boots with a shirt on. Then you do max push-ups in 2 minutes, which at the time was a minimum of 42. Max push-ups, max sit-ups of 50. Don't quote me on that. Roughly 50 in 2 minutes. And then max pull-ups, which was a minimum of like 6. Now those numbers sound pretty low, and they are. Like, it's not hard, but I guarantee you, like, if you try out for that program and you did 42 push-ups and you stopped, they're going to say, get the fuck out of here. You do not have what it takes, because obviously you're a bare minimum kind of guy, right? Like, they want to see you pushing the whole time. So really what they want to see is a lot higher scores than that. And now they have like competitive scores where, I mean, maybe you could get a contract now if you didn't make those competitive scores, but it's so sought after that I would imagine that they're going to be like, no, your scores aren't high enough. So what they want you swimming is like 9s and under, and then you get 10 minutes, change out, and they want to see 100 push-ups, they want to see 100 sit-ups, they want to see 20 pull-ups or more. And then you got a 1.5 mile run after that. And the minimum was like, I think it was a 12-minute cutoff, but they want to see like 9 minutes.
So what's the rest time between, like you said, 10 minutes to change to get ready for the push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups. But what do you have any time between
2
that?
minutes.
Okay.
You have 2
Okay.
minutes.
I'm trying to think if I could do it. I'm like, my cardio would be a
It's
little
tough, dude. I'm not, like the first time you do it, you have to. I mean, you really got to train, just for that.
I'm sure if you had a good, like if you learned a really good swimming technique, that'd be key for that first half of it.
You have to swim combat side stroke, which you could do freestyle, but you're gonna die.
What's combat side stroke?
It's a form of side stroke. They call it the recovery stroke sometimes, or just the side stroke. It's a very low profile, very energy conservative swim on the side. But if you don't know how to do it, I mean, I spent 2 years in the pool every day, unless I was out at sea training. I had to swim religiously. It became my new thing because you have to develop that technique. It's just like what we're doing now. You know what I mean? It's like boxing or anything else. Like you can't just jump in there and know what to do.
Right.
So you got to start training. You got to start learning how to master that stroke. Just because essentially you're always swimming with fins while you're there, and I swim way better with the fins on. Like that's all I ever did. I had a guy that I met. He kind of taught me how to side stroke because I was just going over there. I was going over there on my lunch break between class, and during A school, they'd give us like 45-minute lunch or whatever, and I'd run down to the pool. I'd change out as quick as I could. I'd swim for 20 minutes or 15 minutes, and then I'd change back out. I'd run over to the galley and I'd grab a grab-and-go lunch, which is like a sandwich and like a granola bar and like an apple or banana or something, and I'd head back. And I did this every day for the 2-3 months I was there, 2 months or whatever, 3 months I was there. And then like they were just, I don't know, it's a long story to get into, but essentially like I didn't get much time to go to the pool. It only opened at a certain time. I had to be at school, and like it's just military mentality. From 6 to this time, you had to be here at the barracks. You had to do room inspections every morning. So it's like I wasn't given a whole lot of time. There were days like I would fucking, I don't know, you start taking risks that could get you in trouble. Like I'm just gonna not show up for this because I'm gonna go work out, and hopefully I don't get reamed out later for it. And so it's kind of demoralizing in the sense that like I had an opportunity for 2 months to train in boot camp, but I never got to. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. I ended up going anyway, but I had to do 2 years on a ship first, which is really demoralizing for a lot of people, especially when you don't join the Navy with those intentions.
To be on a ship?
Not just be on a ship, but just to not, like, I mean, there was a war going on, and I was, like, literally begging people. I'm like, why can't I just switch jobs? Like, why can't you fuckers just send me to Afghanistan? Like, I'm volunteering to go, and I don't give a shit to do what. Like, it didn't make any sense, but, like, that's just how it works, you know? Like,
so that brings up a question I have. So, like, let's say guys sign up, they go to boot camp, and they just, like, they want to quit. Is there a quitting?
Oh, yeah, you can quit. Well, it's hard to explain this. So, define what you mean a little more.
So, like, they want to get out. They want to go, whatever signed up for. Well, they signed up for 2 years.
This is where, like, and this, I don't know. I've heard this. I've only seen this happen one time. There's a clause apparently, and this is apparently. I've never read this anywhere. I've only been told this by more than one person in the military. That there's a clause essentially for like the first 3 months or 6 months that you're in. Don't quote me on any of those fucking numbers, but there's a clause, and if you're in boot camp, all you have to do is, and I shouldn't even say this because you know what, it's a hardship. That's what it's meant for. So if you're listening to this and you fucking use this as a way to get out because you just did something, you're a fucking pussy. But if you're like really against the military, I mean, everybody, like I said, everyone's gonna go there and be like, oh, I want to go home. Suck it up. It's 2 months. It's the fucking Navy boot camp. Jesus Christ. But it is. It's kind of a joke, dude. It's a joke how many people start crying.
It just seems like it's a lot of just teaching you discipline and teaching you routine and breaking you down a little bit.
Young people that just never been away from home.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a very kind of intimidating time, but you're not doing anything. Like, they're stressing you out a little bit. It's not, I mean, But yeah, there's a way. Like one kid, I remember we were getting like smoked, if that's what you want to call it, in Navy boot camp, where they're just like PTing you.
Okay.
To punish you. And he stands up and he says, "I'm a conscientious objector."
That seems like the snowflake shit that's going on right now.
And from that moment on, he went in the back room, had a word with like the Master Chief that was in charge of all of us over there, and I think he left. Like I never saw that dude again. He stood up and was like, "I'm a conscientious objector, and I refuse to do this anymore."
That dude's in a black room somewhere.
I
just
said
hanging out.
No, like they do that
For
shit
2 years since his
Like
enlistment
basically,
time.
so what they do is, I know there's ways of going around it. When I was in A school, I met a couple dudes, like, because this is back when they had the what's called the "don't ask, don't tell" policy.
Yeah.
That's gone now, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. And I don't know what it's been replaced with. I think it's obviously because there's having transgenders and shit in the military now. So obviously it's like it's open. You can just go in there like I'm
Really?
gay or queer or
interesting.
transgender, or like there's a whole thing where like they're trying to get they have transgender sensitivity training.
Wow.
So I've heard about a lot of this
Jeez.
stuff, which I think is like where we're headed with this is completely wrong. It's a fucking military.
The pussification of America
Oh, yeah,
is
exactly.
active.
It's strong, apparently, if it's going to the military.
Wow, sensitivity training.
But
Yeah, you should send those guys in there first. Just freak out like the Taliban. Send a transgender in there.
like 'em.
They might, or it might just be like, oh man, that's the devil.
Just send those dudes in with a whole bunch of ecstasy. just spray the whole place down with ecstasy.
Just freak them out.
I think they're freaked out enough. You know, I mean, there's a difference, I think, between the Taliban and just poor Afghani people that are just trying to
Yeah,
fucking
that's
get
true.
by, you know what I mean?
That's true.
It's just like anybody. We're all just here on this fucking shithole planet Earth and just trying to get
Figure
by.
it out, yeah.
That is true. With the Army's luck, they're gonna send some crazy
Now,
transgender
most of those
one
people,
the wrong
like,
place.
they're gonna do some fucking
Yeah.
pogue shit. But I met dudes, like, when I was in, it was a different policy. It don't ask, don't tell. And there were dudes that deliberately would go and get, like, stacks of gay porn and dildos and all kinds of fucked up shit and, like, get caught so they could get kicked out.
Oh, because they wanted to get out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, that's pretty fucked up way to go out. Like, one dude I know, they let him go. He had a stack of like gay porn DVDs, and like so.
What does your discharge papers say when that?
I think what they do is they give you what's called an administrative separation.
Okay.
And so essentially, an admin sep is like it's basically like you were never in.
I got you.
They can't really hold it against you. You're just kind of separated. It's not like a dishonorable, or the other one they have is called a bad conduct discharge, or the big chicken dinner is what they like to call it.
Big chicken dinner.
Yeah, but it's like, so those two are like the bad ones. A dishonorable discharge and a...
You hear about that one occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, you've got to fuck up pretty bad to get a dishonorable discharge. Even a bad conduct discharge is kind of like you got to, I don't want to say try to do it, but you got to do something fucked up, like something you shouldn't be doing in the first place.
Right.
Something criminal, something maybe negligent, but even then, like, it just depends. But he like slid a gay porn mag like halfway out under his closet door, kind of looked like it fell off.
Oh, jeez.
And so when they were doing room inspections, when he was gone one day, they fucking saw it, pulled it out, like, what the fuck, opened his closet up, found all kinds of fucked up paraphernalia and pornography shit. And
So they
like,
do room inspections when you're not there?
Yeah.
It's like prison?
I mean, it's the military. I mean, you are property. You are literally
Yeah.
property of the United States government.
I thought like they did room inspections, but you knew
They
it was
do.
coming.
Sometimes they'll do like they'll have the what's called personnel inspections. So like every morning, my entire hallway, we had 4 dudes to a room, and so you'd have like 100 dudes in a hallway, just lined up. Like everyone's against the wall, the doors open. And they'd come by and look at you, like uniform-wise, to make sure you're not all fucked up. They probably don't even do that now because somebody might cry. But go figure. Like you got to look presentable.
Right.
Yeah.
They have a specific, and it sucks because it's just routine, like every day.
Yeah.
And they do it to make you just do it automatically.
I think they're trying to teach you discipline. A lot of the guys come into it without discipline and come out of it a lot of times with discipline.
And discipline is good. And I just think that at some point when you prove to be a person that no longer needs continual supervision, you should be allowed to
A little leeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sucks because they put you with a bunch of fucking pieces of shit that and I'm true. And it's true, man. I work with them at school right now. I worked with them for 6 years in the Navy. You're like just pieces of shit. And you're getting brought down, you're having to stand around, waste your free time or potential free time because somebody else made poor decisions. And it's like, I never really understood the whole punish everyone for the mistakes of a few mentality. It does serve a purpose, but so does, hey, guess what, guys? You guys are all here suffering because that guy over there fucked you. He fucked you.
Yeah.
So you know what? When we walk away,
We're all gonna fuck you.
if he wants to get his face fucking smashed on accident, if he wants to trip and fall on the that's his bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's just, you get guys that are just, and girls. I met a lot of people in the military, and then from then on, I saw this. I started seeing it everywhere. I started cops, firefighters, nurses, people who are public servants. What happens is you get a lot of people, I feel, that don't really want to do the job. Mm-hmm. They want to put on a uniform and tell people, masquerade around and tell people, this is what I do. Mm-hmm. And I had a buddy when I was in the Navy. He said, think about the first woman who enlisted. And sorry, women out there, I'm not turning this into a sexist thing as much as it is point of fact. Like, did the first woman who made the big stink about becoming and getting in the military, did she do that because she actually wanted to be in the military, or did she do that as a way for women's suffrage?
Yeah,
and her own personal gain.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's a interesting point of view, because I think that at some point it's got to be a personal view thing. I mean, she may have wanted to be in the military, but definitely women's suffrage and personal point of view, a personal gain.
Now I'm curious. I'd like to find out who the first female.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I'm just because there's always been the talk about like these women in special operations, women in combat roles, which they're allowing now, and like
interesting, really.
Yeah, they're allowing it, and like we actually were going to class on the mats with this girl, and I think she's gone now, but she was we were working out during one of the strength and conditioning sessions with Kev one night, and she was like fresh out of high school, graduated like she's been out of high school since breakfast, you know what I mean? Graduated like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
like, I want to use that.
And I'm like, oh, you're going in the Army? And she's like, yeah, I leave in like 18 days, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. What are you going to do? She's like, airborne infantry. And I was just like, keep your mouth shut, Eric. Keep your mouth shut.
You find yourself doing that a lot? Just
you know what? I'm watching this girl push a fucking sled with a 35-pound weight plate on it, and she was having a very hard time. And you know what? I'm sorry. I believe holding people to a standard. I don't give a shit about race, color, creed, fucking gender. If you can't perform, you can't fucking perform.
Right.
You shouldn't cut standards because you're a female.
Right.
If you want to play with the boys, you better be able to hang with the boys.
And you and I have had discussions a lot about this on the podcast. Like, I'm all about female equality, but this is a very different situation. Like, we have to really admit to ourselves that there is a big difference between female and male biology. One can definitely do something that physically that the other can't. There's a reason why if you go into powerlifting, a woman could take her whole life to try to deadlift 400 pounds. If you give a guy a good routine, he can do that probably within a year. If he's
there are physiological differences, and I don't know why that has become such a taboo thing to say.
Yeah.
Like,
there is.
I give you the example. I watch that show Deadliest Catch, and that's like a mat where they catch the crabs, right?
Yeah.
And they had a woman come on there, and like she was game. They even told her like you're better than most of the men that come out here, but physically you cannot do the job.
Right.
And it's not because you don't want to do it, or because you're a woman. Well, but that is because you're a woman. You're just physically built different.
Right. You
cannot do it.
Physically do it.
It's not because we say you're a woman. That has nothing to do with it. It's because you're just physically built different.
No, there's
you cannot do it.
And I'm sure that there will be guys that were in the same boat that just because you could do it, you're not big enough.
And they told her, they told her, they told her straight out, you are literally better than like 80% of the people out here right now. But
mentally,
you just
probably
mentally,
right? Like,
but physically, you cannot do it. It's just that's just how it is.
And,
Sorry,
I wouldn't care if she was doing crabs, but like when we're talking a special ops team where there's lives at stakes, and we gotta be able to depend on these team of 5 guys to be able to pull off a mission. Like you gotta make sure you pick the right 5 people for that right 5.
Well, you're also talking about very fucking very apex males.
Yeah,
I think. It's not about the equality thing. It's about, can you perform? And are you going to, like, I'll tell you what, because that's a whole different breed.
Yeah.
It is. It's a whole different animal. We're not talking the jiu-jitsu mats. We're not talking a boxing ring. We're not talking a wrestling mat or maybe the football team where some girls have triumphed over men. This is something where they're going to test you for fucking days and days and days and weeks. And you know what? Like, they're going to hit a point where at least in that community, with that mentality of people, that the job that they have to do and what is required of them, it may come to a physical altercation. You know what I mean? And just because women can beat somebody on a jiu-jitsu mat, I mean, is that going to be in real life? I mean, I know that there's great women. I get rolled up all the time by fucking women. But does that mean if somebody fucking smashes you on the fucking head with a headbutt, that you're going to be able to perform the same way? Does that mean when 2 guys come out of a fucking corner somewhere and start smashing the shit out of you, are you going to be able to roll them both up?
Yeah, and it's really interesting because even when you add like endogenous testosterone to a female, like it's still not equivalent, like strength and power wise. It's very fascinating to see that.
I think it's interesting that they want to put like transgender men in with females.
Oh, that's very
like, how
odd.
the fuck is this?
That's very odd.
Fair? Like
when you see that in
the
MMA,
women like in outrage about this?
Yeah,
you know
well,
did you hear
about? I think it was a young woman, or I don't know what it was, but it was basically like a man who transitioned to a female, and then just like shortly afterwards, did the Olympic weightlifting competition and just smoked all the girls. And like all the girls had to do that. Oh, it was great. She's so empowering. Like they had to do all that shit, but she just smoked all of them. Like you just had like X amount of years to develop a male frame. You switch genders, you switch the hormones. Some of that carryover's still there.
I don't understand how. And again, back to the physiology. Like, just because they switched over to
different hormones.
What the fuck is? I mean, what is? I'm sorry, man, but what is this? Are we just gonna? Is there a switch? All of a sudden, you're a woman now.
See, the one I have
because you can snip your dick off, dude. Doesn't make you
the one I have a
fucking
hard
woman,
time
man.
is like when you see little kids and they're letting these little kids make these decisions. I'm like, wait, you're letting 16, 14-year-old kids in the fucked up time of their lives decide what gender they want to be? Like, you need to wait till they're a little older and they know what their decision they want to make.
I don't understand.
Man.
Like, if you have to be 18 to vote, why isn't it the same thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, man.
That's true.
I went to school with some dudes that we knew that they were gay before we even knew what gay was. What's wrong with being gay? Nothing's wrong with being gay.
That's what me and
but
him.
When you start fucking people up in the head like this.
Yeah,
it's tough,
me and
man.
him have had the discussion too. Like we had people that were gay in our high school, and we never really thought about it.
I mean, look, I'm all for whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. But again, like when we were telling kids it's okay to do what
switching
some
genders,
things,
it's too
to me. I mean,
right
I don't
now.
care. I'm sure we're gonna catch grief for this.
Probably.
You'd be surprised nobody gives a shit. And at least our viewers don't give a shit.
Well, I think that the media hypes things up that really aren't issues. They say, "Oh, all these people think that." No, they don't.
No, they don't. Yeah, my thing's always been like, do whatever they want. If you want to screw whoever, do it. Just don't do it in front of like the table where I'm standing.
Right.
And like just.
Well, the Jenner guy made it so popular. It's like, dude,
Who?
what's the?
Oh,
it's like
Bruce Jenner.
The guy.
Oh yeah, you know, like, and honestly, I want to say this, especially if this is going out, because to me, the fact that Time magazine made this mother Woman of the Year. I mean, you know what? Like,
if I was a woman, I'd be pissed.
No, it's exactly like if this is like, I mean, there's not much that really. I mean, I could give a fuck about pretty much everything, but you know what? Like, that is a fucking direct slap in the face to my mother, my grandmother, my sister.
There's women who did incredible things that year, and it's like...
Yeah, your mothers.
Yeah. It's like,
just
fuck.
because you snip your... And he didn't even snip his dick off, but just because you want to put fake tits in and snip your dick off and wear a dress, that does not make you a woman.
Yeah, that's true.
Women grow babies inside of them.
Yeah.
We do not do that.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, it's a complete disregard for... And I have utmost respect for women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my grandma was one of the greatest women I've ever had the honor to meet in my life, and she's tougher than most fucking dudes I know.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I mean, again, I'm sure most women were just like, whatever, we know we're better than this. But to me, that's like, fuck you, Time magazine.
Yeah.
I'll never
Yeah.
give you another dime. I'll never look at any of your shit. You fucking insulted every woman. I mean, you insulted every woman that's ever done anything for women's suffrage. Every single mother that's worked 3 jobs to raise her kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I think Time's going the way of like news. Like, you look at news now, and they're talking about like celebrity gossip, and I'm like, since when is what Kim Kardashian's ass is doing celebrity like news? That's not news. I don't give a shit.
well, I don't know where this even started. Long before probably we were born, but who gives a fuck what celebrities' opinions are?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Like, you're a couple hundred years ago, they called these people clowns. You were court's jesters. You were fucking clowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit just because you're an actor. Oh wow, that means your opinion matters.
Right.
Just because you're a basketball player, you're a football player, your opinion matters. Like,
Yeah.
good, stand up for what you believe in. I'm all for that. But you know what? Shut the fuck up. I'm so sick of this over like dramatic display of like, oh my, and it's only in my opinion one directional. Like, all of this media bullshit, it's all one directional. It's like, it's either you're with their fucking screaming motherfuckers or you're not.
Yeah.
And it's if you're either with them or you're a racist. You're
Yeah.
fucking...
Yeah, it's a very weird society we're in now. It's almost getting to the too socially acceptable kind of level. So you brought up the gay porn thing to get released. Do the military have any issues with like guys having like regular straight porn?
I don't know, dude. I mean, honestly, I was exposed to more pornography in the military than any other point in my life.
Well, you're on a boat, right? You were on a boat.
Yeah, but it's just like it was. I don't know how to explain this. When we were growing up, dude, nobody had a computer.
Right.
Nobody had that shit. And it wasn't
Right.
until I think I had at like 13 years old, 12 or 13 years old, I knew one guy whose dad had a computer, and his dad was like really into that stuff.
Right.
He built computers. They had the internet. And so we were kind of like exposed to it a little bit then. But as the years grew on and more people started getting computers in their household, it became easier to get exposed to, because until then it was just like, oh, somebody's got a dirty magazine.
Yeah.
And now like porn, and honestly, like porn, I got mixed views on this shit. It's smut, it's filth. You know what I mean? It fucks with your head, and especially the younger you are, the more it
Yeah.
fucks with your
We've
head.
talked about
Yeah,
that
we
quite a
talked
bit.
about
It gives
Yeah.
you a what's the word? False expectations.
Yeah.
Kind of it gives you the wrong impression of what sex with a woman's going to be like or should be like. Again, it serves a purpose for some things when you're alone for long periods of time, or like if your love life's kind of dying down and you need something to spice it up, or whatever. But it is poison for the brain, and the more you subject yourself
Right.
to it, the more it fucks with your brain.
Well, we talked about it quite often, and we joke about it quite a bit. But it's one of those situations where it's like I go back and forth a bit on it, but also like it definitely does do that. Like, I've definitely come to the realization that if you're a young man and that's what you think the norm is, like you're in a weird like niche-y area where you're going to be affected with the women you go forward with. But like also for women, it's also setting these insane high standards where now women are like, it's like all women want to get boob jobs nowadays, and all women like are looking at the waist trainer things, and it's like it's also very interesting how they've been affected by pornography, by males viewing pornography,
and then just the whole I don't know what you would call it, but all the glamour magazine, like the whole like it's essentially, what's the word I'm looking for? Barbie dolls did this to them as well. Fuck is the word, dude? God, of course I would draw a blank right now. You know what I mean?
It happens all the time. So now, and I kind of understand the idea.
Subliminal messaging.
Okay.
Like I worked with a teacher. She was more as a counselor than a teacher, and she showed me 2 dolls. One was a doll from back in the 60s or 70s or maybe the 80s, and the other one was from current time. And she was like, what's the difference here? And like I was like I don't know. But she was like, look at this older one. It's kind of a little bit bigger around the midsection, the waist, thighs, arms. And now look at this one. It's super skinny. She's like, this is subliminal messaging.
Yeah, well, it's programming kids to have a standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, now these kids have fucking slut dolls they can play with, like the Bratz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my first job ever was Toys R Us. And I see those Brat things, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, they're all whored out. What's going on here?
I mean, it was just as bad because it started with Barbies.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you look at, I don't know, man. This is kind of where, like, you get into like conspiracies and subliminal messaging and stuff, but it's like look around at our entire culture anymore, and it's like look at the Barbie doll back when we were kids. Go to any major city and start looking at people and start looking at women. You're like, wow, it kind of is like it's given
the standard,
the impression, the standard of what beauty is, instead of being like, you know what. And I guess guys are the same way. You look at all these magazines.
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen Bigger, Stronger, Faster?
Yeah. No, it's a great documentary.
Yeah, and he shows like the Luke Skywalker, the original one that came out, and he looked like a normal dude in the 70s. And then you look at the Luke Skywalker now, and he's like ripped and he's got muscles, and it's like, well, where the fuck all this? When Luke started lifting, when Luke started getting some muscle, he's making all kinds of gains.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it happens for men too, but I think it definitely isn't talked about as much for men. But men do also have those social pressures to have a certain physique or a certain look. But I think women definitely are more vocal and open about how they're affected by it versus how men are. Like you see guys all the time, they break up with girls, and the first thing they do, they're like, I'm gonna go work out and get yoked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole bro mentality.
Yeah.
I had a guy back home I know, he called them bromosexuals. And people honestly, like, I know it might sound like hypocrisy if people looked at me, they'd be like, well, look at you. I'm like, yeah, I started off a long time ago in high school with the same mentality, but I gave up on that once I went to the Navy. And I was like, I said, dude, I saw dudes from all walks of life that made it in the SEAL teams. And yeah, it's a physically demanding job. You have to be physically fit, but there's a difference between being physically fit, athletically physically fit, than just like packing on this fucking unusable muscle.
Yeah.
You're just getting big to get big. Like that's the most, like, half people don't want to realize that I built the way that I'm built because of my genetics. If you look at my brother and you look at my dad, you'd be like, wow, you guys all have the same physique. Like you have a short, stocky physique. I can't help that. That's my genetics.
How tall are you?
5'8".
Okay.
My uncle Chris the same way. But people don't want to look at genetics. Like, you can only go so far with your genetics.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's something I talked about on my other channel. But yeah, it's interesting, man. Like you definitely see guys that have way too much muscle on, and then they're good for about like 2 minutes, and then you're like, oh, he's done. Like there's that one guy in our class comes in with his girlfriend, and he's definitely doing something, because even all the little young guys in our class were like, hey, is he doing steroids? And they disrespectfully too, by the way, because some of the younger guys were asking our teacher, Kevin, were like, is he on steroids? I'm like, dude, he can fucking hear you. You guys need to be just chill. It doesn't matter. He won't know. Just let the dude do what he's gonna do.
He might not be.
He might. I disagree, but he's a nice guy. He seems nice. His girlfriend comes in too. She looks like she's a bodybuilder chick too. So, you know, I have nothing against the guy, but you could definitely tell like he's winded very quickly, very quickly. So there is a certain level of usable muscle. Like if you're just looking to look pretty and you want to be one of these dudes that just takes off your shirt and flexes for chicks, like whatever, that's what you want to do, that's fine, whatever. But just be aware that there is a certain amount of usable muscle. Like your lungs can only pump so much constantly to all that muscle.
Right.
You know, there's go and show. You know what I mean? There is a difference there for sure.
No, you're absolutely. I mean, I guess that's where like the difference between training, like athletic training, and just
for sure
bodybuilding.
We're just looking for a pump.
Because even when I was in the Navy, dudes were like, you know, what do you
bench, bro?
I'm like, I don't bench, bro. I don't bench. I'm like, I do 500 push-ups every night.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got a chest that big from doing push-ups. I'm like, 500 every night, yes. And well, again, back to the genetics.
Right, genetics plays a huge role.
That might not be the same for you or you.
Right,
I mean, you seem like kind of a bigger guy, so it might work out great for you. It just depends.
Right.
And my 500 was 500. It wasn't like I went and did 150 and then lied about it.
Right.
But I had a pretty standard routine. I was doing over 100 pull-ups every night religiously.
Pretty good.
100 pull-ups, like that was my standard. I had, unless my arms or something was feeling kind of sore, then I'd still do like 75. But I got to a point I was doing 100 plus pull-ups every night, 500 push-ups. You know what I mean? 300-400 sit-ups. And that's what I did. I did a couple hundred dips. And like I'd spend 2 hours doing push-ups, sit-ups, dips, just body weight stuff. I worked out with this guy who was the chief over in Little Creek. I was in the teams. And the first day there, we were working out. And he comes up to me. He's like, you need to fucking quit hitting the weights, bro. And I'm like, Chief, I haven't lifted weights in like 8 months or more. It's probably longer than. I'm like, I just do push-ups and sit-ups. Like I stopped lifting weights. Like I lifted weights for a few months right out of boot camp just because like I lost a fucking ton of weight, like muscle mass. And then after that, once I started working out with some of these guys, I was like, I can't do these exercises. Like weights are not going to help me. Like I have to start doing push-ups and pull-ups and dips and sit-ups and running and swimming. And so that's what I started doing. And again, the genetics thing. But people are like, yo, you got like arms that big. I'm like, yeah, dude, if you do, look at gymnasts. You don't believe me? Look at gymnasts. Look at their arms. Yeah, they're small guys, pound for pound wise, but they didn't get arms that big because they weren't doing pull-ups.
Right. I mean, they're constantly working their arms.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Some of the shit they do is some of the hardest. I mean, they are pound for pound the strongest guys in the world, and I've read that in multiple strength and conditioning articles.
Well, yeah, those guys are very, very light, very, very lean, and they're able to do incredible things. But those people look at shit like that and they're like, yo, bro, all I got to do is do some pull-ups and some benches and I'm good to go. And it's like, dude, those gymnast guys are in the gym for like 8 hours a day.
They start them off at such a young age to develop connective tissue strength. You know what I mean?
They're constantly doing stuff. But
like, if you saw some of these burly motherfuckers try to do a Maltese, you'd snap your bicep.
Yeah, you will quickly bust your bicep. That tissue's just not strong enough to do what you want to do until you've worked it and increased that connective, the ligaments. So, yeah, it's crazy.
And I mean, we were talking about the whole like the dolls and shit. I remember hearing about this lady. I think she was in Australia or New Zealand. She started this thing called tree change dolls, and I'll show you a picture of this right here. But it's pretty impressive. So she take like those brats and other like slutty looking dolls these girls had, because she said this is complete horse shit. Like this is like look at what you're doing to women's imagery,
right?
You know what I mean? To these young women's minds, and so she took like paint thinner and took all the paint off and then started redoing them, making them like look like real women, like natural.
That's kind of cool.
I think it's kind of amazing. She started giving them clothes, and that were like just real clothes, not like mini skirts.
Wow,
heels.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, this is something that I actually like,
Yeah, this is something especially younger women need. It's like nowadays, like, dude, the Photoshop is so prevalent. I mean, you look at social media and it's like women are always trying to get the best pose for the best picture. And it's like, dude, why are we selling? You look at these, and this is like, I have a lot of gripes with the fitness industry because I was like trying to do that for a little bit. But it was like, you put these fucked up pictures up. They're photoshopped, that you're in your best lighting, that you're in your best pose, and then you're trying to promote this like social acceptance bullshit where it's like, well, why don't you just be 100% upfront about what you really are, and then support other women by really showing what a real woman is. Because that's another reason why men look at these women and they're like, dude, I need to break up with my girlfriend, there's hotter chicks out there. And it's like, dude,
That's love.
that's not what, yeah, right. Right, that's not what a real woman
I learned
is.
that when I was 16. First time I had a fucking that winner of a girlfriend I was telling you about. But the first time I had my fucking dick sucked, I'm like, I'm in love. This is love.
It's like every dude, they're like,
This
yes.
is love. And then the first time you get pussy, I'm like, oh wow, like that confirms it.
What's that monkey? That's that monkey biology. That monkey biology is like, dude, you need to breed, continue the bloodline.
Yeah, and that's obviously and then at a young adolescent age, like hormones are gonna ramp,
Right.
and you're just like, I just want to fuck all the time,
Right.
Yeah.
But honestly, and I was the same way back then when I was with my ex-girlfriend, the one that lives in Chicago. Me and her were together for 5 years, roughly. Kind of, it's been a real up and down, like crazy experience. But she was the only one I was with the entire time. You know what I mean? And like, I didn't want it any other way. I enjoyed being with her. We had amazing sex because we cared about each other. And,
Right.
I mean, yeah, she's gorgeous, but that was like the perk. Like, it was like the connection that we had. I didn't want to be out sleeping with other women, and I feel that after I got out of Bud's the first time, I was in a fucking depressed mood, and I remember I was in this barracks where they put all of us, and there was a quote from Gandhi on one of the lockers that said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And
Popular one.
Huh?
It's a popular one.
And it's a good one because it's honestly, it's the truth. I think that, like you said, back to the bravado, it goes with the women, it goes with the men as well. Like, there's such a false sense of masculinity out there. Like, men don't fucking show their women they love them. Men don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like, men don't do this or men don't do that. Like, I would fucking take a chick to get a pedicure right now because they're cool. I don't mind getting them. It's not like I get them all the time, but
That is a positive change, though, right? Like, we've been talking a lot about negatives and the current culture, but back in the day, that's what the culture was. Like, you don't show emotion. Guys are like just stones that are there. But now that's actually one positive thing that has changed, right, culturally.
well, yes and no. I think that there's a limit. When you're a fucking pussy, you know, I was reading some tweet or some shit somebody said about this dude probably gets pegged by this chick anyway. But like, he posted this tweet on like, they went and saw Wonder Woman, and it's fucking hilarious. And she's like, after the end of the movie, they were in the car. She's like, so that's what it's like to have like a role model that's, you know, empowered you like that, like a gender-related role model or some shit. And you're like, and how they both cried about it.
Oh,
It was
fuck.
like, I think that's like, yeah, there's a point of showing emotion, but at the same time, like, women still want to be.
They still need a man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My boy Jamie, he's a fucking badass, by the way. He met this girl down here, and I mean, it was just interesting. The first time I met her, she's a great chick, but she's like we were talking about this too, and how it's funny. Because she's from Seattle, she's fucking like, I don't know if it's a liberal arts degree, but she's a fucking liberal. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but she's very liberal. And
Doesn't shave her armpits, liberal.
huh?
Doesn't shave her armpits, liberal.
No, she's a really really cute girl. Not that she wouldn't be if she didn't shave her armpits, but I don't know if my boy Jamie would be cool with that. But he's just the two of them together, his mentality, still being in the military,
Interesting.
his views on everything and kind of her views on everything. I'm like, this is funny that you're with him. I'm like, but at the same time, like, I get it.
Sometimes opposites attract, right?
I think that what you said, they still want men. and he's a alpha male. You know what I mean? He's a fucking stud. You look at the dude; he's a very sharp looking motherfucker. He's buff. I mean.
Yeah, as much look, I have this discussion a lot with like feminist chicks that I talk to that are like
they don't like men.
They don't like that.
Like
They're very man
masculine
hating, but at the same time, they're still attracted to the buff, good-looking guys that look like they have really great genetics.
You know why?
Where their biology is telling them that's a
biology.
good. Their biology is telling them, no, that's a good one to breed with. That's
because,
good babies.
yeah.
Good healthy babies are gonna come from there. You can't fight your biology.
Fucking vagina and it's craving.
Your monkey
penis.
DNA.
Yeah.
Your monkey DNA, you can't supersede that as much feminist as you are.
Yeah, it was funny too, because like me and him, we went to this concert with her and a couple of her friends, and we all went out to eat. And this one girl that was her friend, fucking super hot chick, dude, kind of tall. She was with this dude, and like, I walk in, like, hey, how you doing, but I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, just kind of like, what the fuck? And I hate saying that, but it's like I was kind of confused. I'm like, is this her boyfriend or is this like the gay friend? Because that's kind of what that's.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean? And not that there's anything wrong with that, and I'm not trying to belittle this guy in any way, but to me, I was like
a very effeminate guy, an effeminate dude.
Yeah, but it also, I don't know, like later on that night, it seemed like she was flirting with me. It was just. No, not sure about that.
But I know what you're saying. Like that, I know what you're saying. It's
and it's just, I don't know. It just seems to me that unless she's absolutely head over heels in love with this guy, if
that's not going to work out.
If the right guy came along, I think she'd have made an exception.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's the biology. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're attracted. You're not gonna try to hardwire your biology as much as you want to. You're just not.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, you can't.
And like that's what we're trying to do with this whole shit that's going on. When people are trying to I don't understand the whole sex change thing to begin with, because, like I said, if you're gay, then that's fine. But you're never gonna be a man if you're a woman. You're never gonna be a woman if you're a man.
I guess those people look. I claim ignorance on the whole situation because I don't know enough about it, and I probably won't until I get in a position where and that's never gonna happen.
It's beyond
right.
you. There's nothing wrong with that.
And I think the understanding is they associate with a certain sex, which I still don't know what the fuck that means. But also,
it's a fucking term that we've created.
Right. But I think at the same time, you also got to admit there is some ignorance involved with that, because I've also heard of people who associate as wolves, and they associate as other animals.
In the fucking wolves with the wolves.
That's my point.
Naked,
it's like
eating raw flesh.
And that's my point. It's like, dude, you're associated. I think we're stretching these terms a bit too much. I think
a lot of people want attention.
That's definitely a thing.
Minute of
in
fame.
the U.S., that's definitely a thing for sure.
And then honestly, it's to me, we're normalizing mental illness,
and that could be for sure. That's some of that as well, for sure.
I mean, I have a huge disagreement with a lot of the things that go on. I'll just say this to say this: that you were made a certain way for a certain reason, and if you can't accept that, if you can't accept who you are, then you could change sexes all you want. You could change clothes. You could change into a wolf. You could pretend to be a wolf. Whatever the fuck it is that you think you need to do. But in the end, you have a problem with yourself. That goes back to what I said in the beginning of this, that you have a problem, a self-acceptance problem with who you are and what you see in the mirror every day, and that you can't accept it. And I'm sorry, I don't believe in sugarcoating shit. We're making victims out of our children. I mean, fucking suicide rates for kids is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's because kids are cruel. We all were victims of bullying and also bullied other kids at the same time. Now, with that being said, I learned at a young age how to deal with bullying. You just gotta fucking hit them in the head with something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You teach your kids to say, you know what? Don't fight. It's not okay. But when people bring you to that point where you can't stand who you are, they're just constantly on you.
Right.
Fuck it. Go out. Go out fucking swinging. Because guess what? They won't fuck with you again. They'll find somebody else. They'll find another. Criminals do the same thing. This is simple. predator mentality.
Yeah.
They find easy prey to prey on.
Yeah.
And we're creating victims, and I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Well, like, and I don't know. I mean, especially as like young men, like little boys. Like, I don't know what it's like from the women's standpoint, but like for young boys, sometimes young boys try to like stretch their boundaries, and they try to like find out how far they can go, and then
that's basic childhood psychology.
Yeah, and so I think sometimes the bullying is the same situation where they're trying to, maybe subconsciously, but they're still trying to like assert dominance in a certain way.
Sure.
And until you stop that behavior, you're going to keep it going. And so I think that sometimes what you got to tell your kids they got to be able to fight back
Yeah.
and stop that behavior.
I mean, I had a friend when we were kids. He was kind of he literally was redheaded, and he was, I don't want to say it was a stepchild, but he was this goofy looking redheaded kid. He was one of my best friends growing up, and we were fucking complete polar opposites. He was into like Magic, The Gathering, and fucking
Right.
Dungeons and Dildos, and whatever else that there is out there for guys that do that stuff. And that was fine. I mean, we were young kids. He was one of my good friends, and there were several times where people were trying to fuck with him, and I got in fights because of it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like when we were around, to me, it's like the whole fucking with your friends thing. We fuck with you because we like you. Not
Ball bust.
Yeah, but there were times we were young.
A little
we're
far.
Kids. Yeah. But again, we were young. We're kids.
Right.
But he's still like I see him to this day. Like I haven't seen him 2 years ago back home, and we talked for like an hour in the 7-Eleven back home. And how's you doing? How's your mom? How's your brother? You know what I mean? I seen him one time. And we grew apart. As we got older, like people do. But it's not. He's still considered like somebody that I genuinely like.
Right.
He could always be a friend to me. Like, but it just kind of goes to show that like there's even when we were kids, like people were trying to pick on him. I got in fights because of it.
Right.
Well, he's your friend still. I mean, despite whatever, you're still friends.
Well, and that's where again, like some people, I don't know what it is. They're scared, man. They're scared to fight back against, and that's fine. And like that's why we need more people to say, what, like this whole anti-bullying thing. Like, I mean, it's one of those. It's a feel-good thing. It sounds good, but when you're creating kids, that they're gonna grow up, and when somebody does fucking try to punk them out of some shit, they're not gonna stand their ground.
Yeah.
So you know what? Fuck you. What's the worst could happen anyway? As elementary school kids, and they're gonna get punched in the only fucking tooth or fucking busted lip. Like
the only argument I have against that is like things have also changed a bit from our time to like now. Like it's not just anymore like a physical bullying or just like a school related bullying. Like now it's going to like social media, and it's getting it's getting very psychological with social media.
Today we live in the generation of what I like to call the intellectual bully. Everyone likes to think that they're smarter than you, and they'll belittle you if you used your YOUR in a sentence on social media instead of YOURE, abbreviation. And it's like people like the second you do that, anything that you've stated is automatically out the window.
Right.
And honestly, it's the whole like we call them telephone tough guys, but now they're like it was called internet gangsters.
Like keyboard
warriors.
There you go.
Keyboard commandos. Yeah. It's like it's real easy for you to sit there and shit talk somebody from a keyboard who knows how many miles away.
Right.
Go say it's somebody's fucking face.
Yeah.
Seriously, because you know what? There's an old saying, talk shit, get hit. And I'm a firm believer in it. Because guess what? You'll learn to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I think my concern is more so like for the kids that get like the really fucked up bullying, like the ones where they get
like Bad Luck Brian.
What was that? What's that?
You never seen Bad Luck Brian?
No.
Look that shit up, dude. Look, it's
a
fucking meme, dude. This guy, this redheaded motherfucker, dude, that had a goofy looking picture in a yearbook, and somebody just took his picture and they just started making fucked up memes out of it. And
poor guy.
But there's a couple others out there.
Yeah, it's. I could see how easily, like, let's say you're a girl and you send a picture to a dude, and then the dude puts you on blast on some sort of Facebook high school.
Yeah.
Like, there's people who have committed suicide for shit like that.
And honestly, but that's again like.
Oh yeah, we have seen that again.
Oh yeah, that's the name.
Patrick Bryant, that poor guy.
Guy. But you know, like so shit like that, and it's another fucked up situation. Like shit like that, you'll laugh about, or it'll kill you then. But like when you're old, you'll laugh about it, right? You just got to get through that weird, fucked up time period in high school.
That's the whole that's why I hated the social system in high school, because everything is like all cliquey, and I hate fads and trends, and just like. I mean,
it's great for the people that were on top of all that shit, but like you and I were definitely in like some weird corner niche group that we weren't part of any of those weird popular cliques, and so it was like it's great for those people in that time. But you know, if you're the other people, it's like fuck, it's hell. Like high school's like
no, it is.
Yeah,
it is, because kids are fucking cruel. But that's where, to me, like I believe in holding people accountable. You know, if you're gonna do that shit, you're gonna put some girl on blast or guy on blast. Like, you know what? That's unacceptable.
Right.
It's unacceptable behavior, and there should be some consequences. Now, I don't know what those consequences should be. Maybe your dad should break off in your fucking ass, take all your shit, and drive over the lawnmower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, it's just a tough situation. For social media, it's definitely a tough situation for kids now, as far as like bullying. But I
don't know. I was never very, very good with the girls, and really still not, but definitely not very good with the girls in my younger years of life. Middle school, high school. High school was weird. It was just a weird time of life, and like even then, I was never very like good with the girls. And I don't know, and I had a very fuck you mentality. So I still do, but I've just got a different approach at it now.
Yeah,
I'm more sarcastic, and
well, you've probably grown up a bit too. You know, it's you seem like maybe you had a little anger built up. You know, and
I'd
then
say I had a lot.
Yeah, but you know, some of that comes from growing, and then some of that a lot of it comes from just self-analyzation. You know, as a kid, you don't think about any of that shit. You don't assess your actions. You don't assess why you do what you do.
Can't.
You just do, and it's understandable. You're going through so much shit that dude, high school is fucked, and then adding girls to that, and adding social pressures, and then still trying to figure out who the fuck you are. It's a weird hodgepodge of stuff.
I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how to fix it. Obviously,
there's probably no fix.
But you got to try to fix somehow, and the only way to do that is fucking get rid of this bullshit. I mean, I know that's just a blank statement because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But when I worked for the school district back home before I moved down here, I used to have headphones in and do my routine every day after school when the kids leave. And I'd have them up just loud enough to be able to like listen to my music, but also like I could hear you if you're trying to talk to me, but not eavesdrop unless I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I usually didn't try to bother teachers if they were working. If they wanted to talk to me, I'd talk. If not, I'd just keep going. And I remember sitting there one day, and like this lady's sitting there, like just staring off, and I could tell like something's bothering her. She's got that look on her face. I'm pretty good at reading people. So after like 5 minutes, I do my thing, and I'm about to walk out the door, and I just kind of like I looked at her, I take my headphones out, I'm like, you know, you all right? And she just looks at me, and she says, "Is it ever going to get better?" And like I knew exactly what she was talking about. I knew exactly at that moment. Like I said, back to the whole strangers and how sometimes just things, and I knew exactly what she was talking about, how like our society, our culture, our country is just in this fucking gloomy, fucked up state when it's not getting any better, and everybody feels it. And she said, you know, is it ever going to get any better? And I looked at her and I said, because this is what I truly believe, I said, yeah, it is. But it's got to get a whole lot worse first. Because what you were saying, you know, about
go through some suffering.
Society, like there's no sacrifice, there's no compromise, there's no fucking satisfaction from a hard day's work. There's no, you know, sacrifice and commitment, and it's going to take a lot of that to get things back on track. And until some bad things happen, and I don't really want to get into what those might be because there's a lot of different things, but time's gonna have to get a lot worse, dude. My grandparents lived through the Great Depression, and I'll tell you what, if this country ever had to go through something that horrible again, there would be fucking bodies stacked up because people are not prepared for that, mentally, physically, spiritually. They don't have the knowledge. they don't have the fucking intestinal fortitude, and that made both of them and people of that generation just that's why
Tougher.
they were called the
Generation.
the greatest generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they had backbone. When
People are
times
definitely
got tough,
softer
they
now.
got fucking tougher.
Yeah.
They dealt with it, and that's now everyone's like, "Oh my god, did you hear what he fucking said about me?" I'm like, I don't fucking care. Let's get back what I was saying originally. If that bothered you, good. If I offended you, good. You needed it.
Yeah.
Because that's a you problem. You need to develop some skills to get over it.
Yeah, I think we have, because we are now granted like so many things come so easily to us right now. Like, we then look for other bullshit to fill our time with, and then we start dealing with like celebrity news and blah 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 blah.
Oh, I fucking hate that shit too.
And so until things get difficult again, like we're not gonna be able to let go of all
Like,
the
what's
bullshit.
the big one now? Did you hear about OJ? I'm like, I don't really give a shit about OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
I fucking don't care. I do not care. And somebody's like, oh, did you hear about this person? I'm like, no. You know why? Because I don't watch the goddamn news anymore. The best thing I ever did was stop watching television. The shit's just fear porn.
Yeah. It's
Some of it
true.
really is.
I've met other people that agree completely. Like, somebody will, and it doesn't matter if it's CNN or Fox. It's all the same thing, just on a different frequency, different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just different subject, but the same subject. They just.
Yeah.
It's just like Republicans and Democrats. It's kind of the same thing. It's just opposite of each other.
Yeah, the part that surprises me is like how it's quite impressive how long they could keep that shit going. They could do it all day.
Oh no!
I'm like, how do you do
That's
this
why
all
people are
day?
all fucked up. They sit in an office.
Yeah.
That has CNN's plan
All day.
long, which is this fucking. Oh my god! Did you hear what Trump did? Oh my god! And like, what? I
Yeah.
don't even know what he did.
That's all.
I don't
yeah.
know what did he do?
Yeah. It's all it is.
impressive. It's
That's all it
impressive
is.
how long they could keep that going.
Is it impressive or is it fucking pathetic?
Well, both. I mean,
Or
they're essentially
they-
taking like a 100-page or 100-word like essay and turning it into like an 18-page essay.
Where everyone
it's
outside is
insane.
running
Yeah.
rampant.
Yeah.
Like fucking chickens with their head cut off. Like,
Yeah.
that's what we've created. Such an emotionally unstable society.
It was adding fear and uncertainty to people. It's making them a little bit more cautious to do
But
everything.
honestly, that's my advice to, I think, turn that fucking shit off.
I don't
dude.
like I've said. I don't watch TV much
Because there's
anymore.
nothing. What are they talking about? There's nothing on there. Oh, hey, guess what? Your politicians fucked you out of today.
Yeah.
Or
Well, it's just like, oh, Bob over here is an expert on this thing. Let's ask Bob what he thinks. Like, why the fuck do I care what Bob thinks?
Bob
Like,
is a fucking retard too.
yeah. Bob has his
It's a closed
agenda.
loop system. Like,
Yeah.
everyone in this system is closed loop. It's like there's no. Why don't you ask somebody on the street? They actually, like, instead of some idiot, they're like, I don't really know anything. I just want to keep walking and get high.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's
The perfect example of this is I was watching news on Friday. No, not Friday. Wednesday. They said John McCain had brain cancer. That was like the big news
I'm
story.
like, so here's the logical statement, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong to think, because brain cancer affects your capability of thinking, right? Decision making.
Yeah.
Shouldn't this guy have to step down now?
I
immediately?
would think so. But he's like, no, I'm gonna take some time off and come back. I'm like,
No, you're not.
it's brain cancer. I think you need to.
And-
I think you're done, dude.
Well, I mean, again, if we're gonna start getting on politics and political things, we could do that too. I'm all for that. But
And my thing was like they had it like the news normally at like 5 is like 2 hours. Like that was the whole story, the whole 2 hours. There's like no other news.
yeah, there's nothing else going on
No,
that you need to know
and
about.
that was just that. I'm like, that sucks that he has brain cancer, but I'm like, he's not the only one who's ever had brain cancer.
Yeah.
Like other people have had brain cancer.
My mom's friend just got cancer again for the 4th time.
Yeah, and my
What
thing
about
was,
her?
yeah, I was like, exactly. What about the person on the street who has brain cancer?
That's what
I was like, what is this? Why
You know
is
who
he
I
so
feel for the
special?
most in this country is the fucking working class.
Yeah.
Is the people, like, and it doesn't matter, men, fucking teens, family, women, family, fucking people, people that are just getting by on working.
Yeah.
They're not collecting government government fucking assistance for anything. They're just making it on a paycheck with no health insurance, with no
Right.
nothing. You know, I feel bad because they're just crushing the fucking life out of these people, and I think I'm convinced that that's the goal.
Well, like I told you, I mean, the American dream is essentially dead. I mean, you cannot like
No, it's
have
credit card debt now.
Yeah, it's like yeah, pretty much. Like you can't afford a home. The white picket fence.
No.
Like, the American dream is like gone. The only way you're gonna do it is if you're working, your wife is working, and then maybe you can have a kid, and then maybe you'll have a house. If not, you're renting. Like there's definitely a big divide in the class now. Like you got the people that with the money and the people that are barely making it.
Yeah.
And we're in a
Well, that's what happens everywhere else in the world. That's essentially what separated America from every other country is the middle class, the true middle class.
Right.
And they're doing away with it. And I'm convinced 100% that this is all part of their agenda. Like this is something that's been going on for a long time. And it's the slow communist fucking takeover of America. Welcome to it. I don't really care.
The Russia slowly
it's not
creeping
just
in.
Russian, but it's just a fucking. Because, dude, this is another reason I stopped going to college. When I was in college, and I'm sure if anybody listens to this, you're gonna catch flack. I don't fucking care. But I'm sitting there, and this is 2010, 2012. So when Obama was being
Reelected,
running for office again.
Yeah.
Well, they got this lady campaigning at the college, obviously for Obama, because you wouldn't see anybody there reflecting the other side, which I think is completely fucking biased, by the way. But, right? How can you only be one-sided at a college? You fucking can't do this. It's completely, I mean, if you can't wear a t-shirt to a voting poll, you shouldn't be able to fucking only be one side. Oh, we only allow Democrats to fucking pool here.
Yeah.
What the fuck kind of bullshit? This is America. I thought everybody had a fair chance here.
Yeah.
Well, I know that's bullshit. But she comes up, me and my friend, he's 19 at the time, getting ready to join the Marine Corps. We're both very like-minded, obviously. But I was fresh out, and she comes up, hey guys, I'm just wondering what, if you guys are voting and who you're voting for. And James, he said something to her, I don't remember, and it's like, well, what about you? And I'm like, I really don't want to have this conversation. I don't. I know we're not going to see eye to eye.
Right.
And she sits down real nice, and she's like, well, why not? Let's talk. I'm like, all right, let's talk. Here we go. And
pull up a chair.
I don't know, man. I was just listening. She was like a 24-year-old school teacher, go figure, in California. Where the fuck are you in Nevada, for one? How's that even fucking fair? But she starts talking about all these bullshit, empty promises that they always make everybody. It doesn't matter regardless of side, because I know it's all bullshit. Both sides. They fill your heads with empty promises, and they never pay up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look, what you're talking about is fucking socialism. I'm sorry, I don't support socialism. I used to march around base and run around base singing songs about killing fucking socialists and communists. I'm sorry if I don't agree with this. I'm sorry that. And she looked at me with the most confused look on her face. And this is where I started thinking differently. Like, it's kind of terrifying. She looked at me with the most confused look on her face and just like, what? And she said, "What's wrong with socialism?" And I was like, honestly, I was so enraged at that statement. If it would have been a dude, I would have gone over the table. Glad I didn't. But there's like a flag waving on a pole in the background, like right next to me, and I'm like, and that's all I could think about. Like, I couldn't even think of anything. It was just red, and I was like, because that's not what those fucking red stripes on that flag stand for.
Yeah.
People have died for fucking free choice, and you know what? There's this big argument on anymore. My buddy's brother has a fucking master's or doctorate in sociology. He's a fucking socialist, which I don't care. But it's like, he can't even. They can't define this term. They can't define it. Because I told him one time, I'm like, communism, fascism, socialism, it's all the same. You guys just change the name as you see fit. And he fucking was like, no, it's not. I fucking hate when people say that. And I'm like, it all ends the same way. A totalitarian dictatorship. I don't give a fuck. Call it what you want, And where does it stop? We're indoctrinating children in school, because that's where it starts, to think that this is the way it's supposed to be. And, like, it blows my mind. Because they're kids, they're fresh, dude. Like, they're taking this in. And I had college professors that are like, oh, utopian socialism is the best political structure we can have. And I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, I'm pretty sure everywhere I've looked at the word utopia in a dictionary, every dictionary, like there's a word fictional associated with it. Because we live in the real world where, guess what? You go outside in fucking Idaho or Dakota or Illinois or wherever. You go outside in February, it's fucking cold. That's the reality.
Yeah.
This whole like, we're going to develop this utopia. I'm like, no. Because here on Earth, people die. Horrible deaths every day. Like, you're not going to get away. It's not going to go away. You cannot get away with that. This is a universe where duality exists. Chaos exists.
Right.
Has to exist. So a utopia is, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've looked in several dictionaries definitions of the word utopian or utopia, and the word fictional is always associated in that definition because it's from a storybook.
Right, there's no perfect world. I think everybody's looking for perfection, but that goes back to our original discussion where even if we were to reach this utopian life, right, like I still think that we still need struggle. We're still going to need something to continue our motivation.
It has to do with
to give us that pleasure.
In my opinion, from the perspective I've seen here, again, the duality. We live in a dualistic universe. Like, it's everywhere around us. I mean, if you look at a yin yang symbol, that's exactly what it is. Like, there's
the white and the black, and
there's light and dark, and essentially, right. I mean, this is something, and people will argue against this, but I mean, this boils down into a physics level and electricity. I mean, I'm taking classes on electrical current and positive and negative. And this is what physics is essentially, and like how, there's just the entire universe is filled with this never-ending, perpetuating battle of positive and negative forces of all kinds. But until people want to start looking at that and saying that's because you're absolutely right. The old saying, if every day is a sunny day, and what's a sunny day? I wake up every morning almost nowadays looking in Arizona. I'm like fucking about to look up my blinds. I'm like, goddamn blue sunny sky and heat. I'd rather have these clouds, honestly. I like it when these clouds are here.
Yeah, that's how I am.
It's just like every day is a sunny day. You don't appreciate the sunny day.
Yeah. I mean, we see people that spend thousands and millions of dollars every year to go to places like Hawaii. But I bet you if you live in Hawaii and you're there every single day, at some point you take that for granted. And you're like, okay, whatever.
I don't think a lot of the people that are indigenous and grew up that way, that's where I think, like, kind of back to the depression thing, I think we've created this life where everyone their heads are so filled with bullshit and materialism that we forgot what life's about, dude. Life's about smelling the roses. It's about, like, kissing the person you love at night and being able to hold them and feel their warmth and the security that you both get from that. Biting into your favorite food after not having it for a long time and just being like, this is the best fucking thing ever. You know what I mean? Watching the sun go down or watching the sun come up. Going out and looking at the stars. Having some drinks with some dear friends and family. Sitting around a table at Christmas time or Thanksgiving or any time. And just enjoying the companionship of your friends and your family.
Right.
Having a meal together. Watching your children play and laugh, you know what I mean? Like, the things that we take for granted, all that shit. And one day, it's all going to be gone. And you're going to look back and say, where did it all go? Now, honestly, I don't have children, but everybody I know does. And in a way, I kind of vicariously live through them and their kids and seeing the joy that, I see it. Like, I've had friends turn their life around because they had children. It gave them something to live for.
Right.
You know what I mean? It gave them responsibilities
drive.
That they fucking needed to have. Because if not, they would have been drug addicts and alcoholics. They needed that responsibility and that love and joy and something to depend on them to get their shit together, or else they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And And so I absolutely agree that we need that constant struggle, that constant reminder. I mean, essentially, that's what Thanksgiving is supposed to be about. It's a holiday of being thankful for what you have. And here's the irony of it. We turn it into a fucking gluttony.
Yeah.
It's a gluttony.
Yeah. It's changed. Yeah, the intent is a bit different. I mean, remove the fact that, it's a pretty fucked up holiday if you really think about it. But the idea behind it is nice. But yeah, it's definitely changed.
Think about how much food is thrown in the garbage the day after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a gluttony. We're all going to sit around and
just
drink
eat
and
until we pass out.
And I may just go either take a huge shit and eat more, or just go vomit and come back for seconds. It's a gluttony. It's like, wow, that's a way to really show thankfulness. There's people really out there that would probably kill somebody to eat even a sliver
food you're
of
throwing
what
away.
eating. Yeah,
Right.
And,
It's perspective for sure. Yes.
The one thing I gained out of the Navy, because I think being in the military has a tendency to make people disgruntled. A lot of expectations that you never got to live up to, and unless you did, which very few people do, I think. But traveling on the world and seeing some of the things that I saw, that was an interesting experience, and I'm thankful for that, because I'll tell you what, some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life were from dirt poor countries, had nothing. They can still smile with no teeth, you know what I mean? And that's should be a reminder to all of us that it's not about materials, man. It's about the things that really matter most. Money will come and go. I mean, objects come and go. I mean, unless something has like true sentimental value to it, it's just what it is. It's just a fucking object.
Yeah. It's fascinating the way we've actually definitely been, for sure, programmed, right? Like, a little bit of it is definitely programming and forcing us, like marketing and TV and whatever forces us to want things, to want the newest phone, to want the newest car.
But it's constant want.
It's constant, yeah. It's never, you never are full, just like with food.
No,
you're never full.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting that you go to these countries that maybe don't have the marketing, but also because they don't have the ability to get what they want, even if they could get it, or they don't have the ability to get what they want because financially they're unable to, they still seem to be happier in many respects, more so than the people that have the most.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying. I don't know if we were on the mics at the time, but like that dude from Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just died and or committed suicide apparently, but goes to show you, here's a person who has fame and fortune and they're still miserable. And then there's more to it, and I'm not going to try to degrade him, but I mean him and Robin Williams, the dude from Soundgarden.
Yeah, Chris Cornell.
Yeah, I mean, how many of these people who have everything?
Yeah,
they have the fame, they have fucking all the money they could ask for, and they still got to fucking go home and hang themselves because they're not happy. What's causing that unhappiness? When you cannot buy it, I mean, the old saying, money can't buy happiness. Well, I think it can help, but you have to be able to disconnect yourself from the materials anyway. Like, yeah, it might be able to buy you a chunk of land and put something on it that's enjoyable, but if that's not enjoyable to you, then it's not going to be.
Yeah, you got to feel bad for the family. He has 6 kids.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I was, I don't know. I think when circumstances like this, like back to the whole telephone tough guy, keyboard warriors. I got a friend that committed suicide when we were in high school. Suicide's kind of it's a subject that should be treated lightly with, and regardless of your views on it, whether you think that person is a chicken shit because they opted out, you know what? Keep your fucking opinions to yourself, man. People fill up these news feeds with statements like, "Oh, Lincoln Park fucking sucked," or "Fuck Chester, he's a pussy."
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad he fucking did it. It's one less fucking pussy.
That's dark, man.
I mean,
too soon.
Like, again, to me, that's a problem that you got with yourself, even for saying that statement. To go out there and say that, you could think whatever you want. You're entitled to your beliefs and your opinions, your own thoughts. But to go on a news feed and say that, like, I don't, you know what, dude? Somebody who commits suicide, and like I said, back home, there's a lot of people who committed suicide. It's a subject of needs to be treated lightly, because everybody in that person's family is gonna have demons to face now. And be like, what did I do that made him not think that he was loved or cared for, or it just, it doesn't even matter if you're a fan of their music. Just having to respect, just that somebody died and that he's got family.
Yeah.
Well, like, did you hear some of the comments people were saying about McCain once they found out about the brain cancer? Like, people were saying, like,
oh, I'm sure.
It's like he needs to die. Like, good for him. Like, what, dude? Like, what the fuck are these comments? Like, what did you do? You kick your dog?
You could sit around and bullshit, but like to go on a news feed and say that, like, to me, that's that crossing the line. Like there's memes that are like, we could joke about them, but they're I got some on my phone. I'm all into fucked up shit.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But there's a point, especially like I got one I sent to a person back home, and it's like not necessarily making fun of a retarded person, but it kind of is. Now, at the same time, I wouldn't go up to a retarded person and fucking...
Right.
Yeah.
There's a difference, though, between
family.
humor and then some guy going on Twitter and being like, oh, I'm glad he's got it. I hope he dies. Like, oh, that's fucking... Where'd you go? What do you do? Kick your dog? Like, where's this coming from? Why do you have a vendetta against this one guy?
Oh, because he's a Republican.
It's just like, come on, man. That's not enough.
That's not even relevant.
That's not enough.
Unless he butt-fucked you or your kids or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
like,
dark.
Yeah, even people who are like, oh, man, hope Obama dies. Why? Like, or even people are like, oh, man, hope Donald Trump dies.
No, dude, it's
like,
funny that you say that.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand you hate him that bad, but like there has to be like a limit to like how much you hate. You can't be like just wishing people to die.
Again, like somewhere in the last couple of years and I don't even know, but I'm telling you, it all boils back to this. You have a problem with yourself.
Yeah.
Because what you were saying, dude, like for 8 years, I was never a fan of Obama.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
And I was kind of one of those guys that, but based on certain media sources, certain things that you were constantly hearing, seeing, they fan these flames.
Yeah.
Of whatever bullshit. And I never liked the guy. But with that being said, I watched 8 years of people making all kinds of fucking crazy accusations, saying the most hate-filled fucking speech. And then overnight, when Trump got elected, it was like, boom, a fucking switch. And all of a sudden, it's the same thing, but now it's all the other
it's just the reverse of it.
And I was like, I watched it. I was like,
yeah, it was instantaneous.
Yeah.
It was
and it's like
quick.
Everything I've been seeing from this one side just fucking flipped over, and now all of a sudden it's the same shit.
Yeah, it's the same
it's
thing.
all from this side of the aisle now, and you're like, what the
But it almost feels...
That's where I really started to back away, and I'm like, hold on here.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like it's just like, that's become the new TMZ. You know what I mean? That's become the new entertainment, just to keep people just constantly at a certain
I'm so glad I stopped watching TV, man. It got to a point during the whole Trump campaign, and not even the Trump campaign, but even before, like I think he even officially was going to run for office. It got to a point where Comedy Central, what's TMZ?
It's like
entertainment news.
It's like entertainment news kind of thing.
But like Saturday Night Live and Comedy Central, that's all they were doing.
Yeah, that's all they did. That's all they did.
People, I want to turn into this and see something funny, not something involving politics. And again, like, they're just pushing this whole, like this celebrity's going to make fun of a Republican. And I'm like, and I'm not even a Republican. Let's put that out there. But it's just like, don't you guys think this ain't even funny anymore?
Right.
Yeah, no.
Shut the
It's like
fuck up.
you don't watch a movie. You watch a movie to get out of your current fucking world. Like, you don't watch SNL to get back into it. Like, the only reason those jokes would be funny is because you're keeping up with whatever's going on in the news.
Or once in a while, maybe it's funny, but when it just becomes every fucking skit they do and every night, like Jon Stewart, and like that's all Comedy Central became was just like this, like, hey, let's make fun. And they never did it for the Democrats, really. It was only when it fucking flipped to the script.
Well, SNL is very Republican, right? Democrat.
Yeah,
right?
Democrat.
I think a lot of the media has a tendency to lean that direction. A lot of Hollywood has a tendency to lean that direction. They took Tim Allen's TV show off the air, and they'll say it was for whatever reasons they want to, but I'm pretty sure there's a large group of people who are convinced that it's because he's one of the only conservatives left in...
Wait, what was the show?
Last Man Standing?
Yeah, I think it was Last Man Standing.
What was that about?
Just Tim Allen show.
It's just about him.
I thought it was like, what was the Home Improvement? I thought it was like, took Home Improvement down?
Yeah, it kind of was just like Home Improvement.
Oh, was it?
But a different setting.
Yeah, it was just older.
The same shit, you know? but it's just like Fox News is geared to a certain audience.
Right.
CNN is geared to a certain audience. Those shows like Tim Allen's show, where they're geared to a certain audience, and that's what they're trying to do.
But once again, it just feels like the news now is just like a little dose of just whatever's gonna keep everybody just fucking
Because that's how fucking
entertained.
mundane.
Yeah.
That's how dumbed down.
Yeah.
If you ever listen to any of Joe Rogan's podcasts,
Yeah, I listen to all
he's
this shit.
fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
And I think I don't agree with any one person on everything.
Right.
But I think that, you know what, for the most part, I could listen to that dude talk about shit all the time because it's relevant. He talks about how they're just dumbing people down, and it's fucking true. I worked for the school district. I saw it when I was in school. I saw it. I mean, fuck, I did an extra year in high school. I think I got more school than a lot of people. 2 years of college. I'm going to a technical school. But just seeing what the fuck are we teaching these kids? They're
Yeah.
back to the Thanksgiving. They're still teaching these kids the same watered down fucking Pilgrims and Indian story.
Yeah.
They're running around on stage dressed as fucking Indians and fucking Pilgrims.
Yeah.
And sure, it's for the kids, but it's like you're kind of distilling
History,
something
right?
inaccurate.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting, man, what's been happening. So we've been at this for 2 hours now.
That's cool.
So you got somewhere to be, or should we try to do the rest of this next time? Because we haven't even gotten you out of the military yet. You're still in boot camp.
I might have to do it next time.
That's
Dude,
nice.
I got no life. I mean,
We'll have to do it next time because I feel like
fine.
I'll have to break this up because editing this bitch is gonna be a pain in the ass.
That's fine.
But this was good, man. This was fun. This was fun because it's like, I have more questions about boot camp and then afterwards.
Sure,
There's,
and I have a tendency. I'm fucking ADD, bro.
No, you're good.
I will just keep. I will bounce over here and then bounce over here and then bounce over here, bounce over there.
You're not as bad as I am. I tend to just go random. I'm like,
Well, I mean, I guess that's the whole point of editing, though. You can.
no, I don't edit
feather it
much,
all
but
back together.
I still have to render it. No, I don't edit shit. Like this will
No,
go
but
on
you
the
can
way it is.
feather it back together, like where we
No,
start to lose.
I won't do any of that shit. It's too much work.
Really?
I'll just dump it, but I'll add something because it has to go on YouTube, so it has to have a visual thing. So I'll add like a thumbnail or I'll add like a whatever. So it's
So
on
do
there.
you ever do video with this, or is it?
I
just
used to, but the
audio?
problem is like trying to do video, you gotta get multiple angles because when you're talking and the camera's here, it's fine for you, but it's not gonna see anything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, we'd have to have 2 camera setups, which means that for an hour, I'd have to go back and post editing and switch out the cameras whenever one person's talking. So it takes a tremendous amount of work.
No, I can see that.
Bandwidth wise, like it would take me a tremendous amount of time to edit this. Like right now, all I'd have to do is just go home, create some sort of thumbnail. This motherfucker, every week, this motherfucker always ruins the audio. Every
It's
week,
been a month.
He's like,
every
"Fuck these
week.
motherfuckers."
It's
telling
been
you,
a.
he
It's
does that
been
shit on
a.
He's like, these guys are the mics. They think they're gonna get their.
It's been 4 for 4.
Yeah,
4 for 4.
Hey, how about next time you
Just
don't come
interview
to the
this.
same place?
Yeah,
and
that's probably what I have to do.
different.
But
Sit in the back corner of a Chili's or something by the bathroom. And let people fucking shit and fart.
yeah, I mean, audio visual will be cool, but like Rogan's got a good setup because he's got his own like studio. You know, he's got multiple cameras. He's got one facing the guys interviewing, one facing him, and the Jamie dude is basically just sitting there just swapping it out. You know, to do that like here, I'd have to have 2 cameras, and if it's a third camera. So the whole thing becomes like a gigantic production. Yeah, this motherfucker, I'm telling you.
He chased us out of here last week.
You should see him last time. He was like doing donuts, and he was like, this is just doing like 300 feet runs.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, dude, because I mean, at some point, when you got a job, like, fuck, you got to have fun with it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, there's people that pump sandy shitters for a living. That'd be pretty bad, but they got to find a way to make it entertaining.
They got to do it.
I think some of them do it like they see how fast they could do it.
Yeah, this guy is just chilling. And I don't mind. You know, I get it. If I had like that job, I'd probably just try to make as much fun as you
Yeah,
can.
I mean, there's nothing to say that he actually has to be out here picking shit up. Just drive around, dude. He's got vacuums on the truck. He's got a vacuum, a shop vac hose. I see him. He can wander around. So he's just going through parking lots, picking stuff up, which is not a hard job. Honestly, where the fuck you sign up for that job?
Just throw on a podcast and just shh. driving around?
I've actually found, like, I'm trying to listen to a little bit more talk radio. Because, like, again, I'm tired of fucking the news, man.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this bullshit. Like, you know, people need something, like, other than this fictitious bullshit. Like,
you're kind of fucked either way. Like, you listen to talk radio, and a lot of it, if you listen to the news, you're just like, I'm done with this shit. And then you listen to the radio, and it's like the same 13 songs repeated over and over and over. And it's like, man, I'm kind of done with this. So I've defaulted to, like, specifically podcasts when I'm, like, driving or whatever, because it's like, especially if you get with, like, a dude like Rogan, who gets some really crazy dudes on there who can talk about, you know, string theory and, like, whatever. You're talking about science, or he gets Neil deGrasse Tyson on, you're like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a good one, right? Like, you can get some information in, some education maybe, and not just listen to, like, oh, Kim Kardashian's ass looks fake again. It's like, why do I give a fuck? Or the same 3 songs you heard, like, an hour ago.
talk about what I was saying earlier, dude. We've created a very autonomous society, and it's automatons. I mean, that's what people are. They don't talk, dude. When I was in college, I mean, I'd walk by people and I could see, like, these younger kids, like, they would, like, the look on their face was like they're getting flustered because, like, we're about to make eye contact, and then, like, they pull their phone out of their pockets, or, like, they would pretend to, like, pick something up on the floor, like, just to avoid like saying, hey man, how you doing? Or
that's happening
hey bro,
more
get
often.
fucked. You know, like, I could give a shit what you have to say, but or not even say anything. Just look at them and just like give them a head nod, like. But I don't know, man.
Phones is making people more socially, like, anxious, and I think it's going to get worse as we become more of, like, technology driven.
Sure.
You know, I have people who, like, would rather send me an email instead of, like, walking a door over and just being like, hey, can we take care of this? I'm like, yeah, we can. You could have fucking called too, but everybody's like, here's an email. I'm like, don't send me a fucking email. You're right next to me. You're right next to me.
I'm afraid that's the new it's the new way it is.
It's a little scary for sure, man. And that, you know, people talk about, like, oh, why don't you have kids? I'm like, I don't know if I want to raise kids in this fucking society right now.
Shit, dude. I don't know. I'm in the same boat, and I'm not getting any younger. And if it's gonna happen, it needs to happen, like, now.
You're like, I'm gonna put it in the will of God. I'm just gonna stop wearing condoms. I'm gonna put it out there in the world.
Like, I honestly, dude, well, I don't want to be 35, 36 changing fucking diapers, dude.
Yeah.
Waking up to, like all the shit you should have been doing when you were 20 in your 20s. Now I got to do when I'm 36.
See, your 20s, man, nowadays, like, your 20s are almost like your 30s, because in your 20s nowadays, you're not gonna have a job where you can support that kid nowadays with today's economy and fucking what people are making for money.
They do it, and I mean, dude, I'd love to, and not to turn this into, like, a race or cultural thing, but I'd like to see some information on how many people are on fucking
Welfare,
government assistance, like welfare. I mean, because I don't think that how many single moms are out there not getting WIC, not getting fucking Medicaid.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it's all kind of part of the agenda. It's all part of the plan. Get as many people as you can hooked on government assistance.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, dude, I grew up 2 blocks where I went to school, elementary school, 2 blocks from Indian reservation back home. I grew up with Native Americans. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of the race card bullshit. But what I've seen, and this doesn't matter, race, color, creed, man. When people get government assistance their entire life, their will to fucking strive goes away. They don't care. Like, this is why you go to fucking reservations, or they look like shit. You go to fucking Section 8 housing, it looks like fucking shit.
Well,
you go to fucking trailer parks, they look like fucking shit.
It's that same argument we've had about, like, when you're getting something for free, there's no struggle that's forcing you to move forward.
They don't
like,
need to do anything.
When they passed the minimum wage situation here, like, I was pretty pissed off about it, because I'm like, dude, that minimum wage just motivates you to try to get something else, either an education or a better job or whatever.
I might get, well, instead of making the minimum wage higher, how about they fix the economy to make food not so expensive? You know what I mean?
That's another option too.
Well, that's I mean, it all goes hand in hand, and it blows my mind that you can make fucking high school graduates and college students and adults say, if you increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, What do you think that's going to do to gas?
I don't understand how people didn't think about that.
What do you think that's going to do to everything else?
Yeah.
Everything else is going to go up as
Yeah,
well.
no, that's what I had been saying. I'm like, yeah, everybody else missed that day in like
Economics.
in economics class.
Basic
I didn't take
economics.
class.
Or whatever
I figured it
class
out.
they just missed that day in high school because
Logic 101.
Yeah, because when they
supposed
said
to be
that,
a
I
reflection.
was like, yeah, if you do that, that cost goes up. But like everybody else was just like, no, that's cool, just raise it. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to get an increase of $15 an hour to $15 an hour minimum wage, and all of a sudden all the goods and services.
Yeah,
are
it's
gonna
just stay the same.
rate.
That's not how
Because
that
you know
works.
what about people who went to college to get out of college to make $15 an hour starting off?
Yeah.
You just, well, now they're going to go in and say, well, we deserve a raise. Because if this is entry-level job skills, which, I get it, man. I get times are tough, and that people, this is with the subject that it's not the minimum wage. It's that times are fucking tough. And that, look, man, people want to talk about, go get a college education, go find a job. Well, it ain't that easy to find a job. that
No,
pays
not anymore.
money to where you can support. I mean, the cost of living has gone dramatically, increased dramatically, and I think that's what we need to hit is like, how do we fix our economy, and how do we?
Yeah.
It's not the minimum wage. The minimum wage is a reflection of the cost of living. It didn't matter if at one time there was a minimum wage of like $2. You know what I mean?
Cost of living was like less than. Yeah.
So how do we
Agreed.
fix that? That's the issue that needs to be fixed, not the minimum wage. It's the cost of living, and that it shouldn't take two fucking people, a two-person income, to support their house and one child.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it is now, for sure.
America used to be a better country than that, but you got greedy fucking scumbag politicians and rich people that just want to keep shitting on our economy.
Everybody's got to get that bigger boat, man. Everybody's in contest for that bigger boat.
Well,
Got to be able to get the,
can't-
got to be able to get the
all money in the world
Excalibur of
gets you
that.
A bigger boat can't get you a bigger dick, though.
There's that Cialis, man. That's why they made the Cialis and Viagra for those old dudes who are just, look at my
Yeah,
boat.
but-
Let me invite some young 23-year-old girls on my boat.
Yeah, how many of them would? I thought it was funny, man. I had a college professor. He was one of my favorites during college because he really pushed like the whole critical thinking, and really saw like you say something, and then years later, months later, years later, I look back at what I had said on a paper, what I had said in a discussion. I'm like, wow. Yeah, I didn't really think critically. I guess I thought as critically as I could at the time, given the circumstances. But he had a joke where he said, so this guy is at like a banquet or whatever and sees this girl, super gorgeous, and he walks up and he's like, hey, they're talking for a few minutes. He says, hey, would you sleep with me for $1 million? And she's like, yeah, of course. He's like, okay. He's like, well, what about $50? And she's like, no. He's like, well, what about $100 or $150? She's like, no. He's like, well, 200. And he's like, and she's like, no. Like, what do you think I am? He's like, well, we've already established what you are. Now we're just determining a price.
We're just working out the numbers here.
So like,
trying to haggle.
that's the truth. Like,
Yeah.
at what point is it? Oh, you're not prostituting yourselves.
Yeah.
If it's for X amount of dollars, or for X amount of products, or for a car, or for drugs, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
for
is
an
one
opportunity.
integrity and like having your own like code of I don't know, the word escapes me, but it's not there like it used to be in older days. I mean, it's definitely changed. Primarily because we put so much weight on money too.
That's again like I'll keep saying the same thing over and over again, that I'm so glad, like, money doesn't motivate me. I don't know why. I think it's because I grew up watching my dad like just go to work, and that was always his excuse. Well, we got to have fucking money, and I'm like, and this is back when times weren't good for Americans, dude. This is back in the early '90s, you know what I mean? And he was making fucking big money then. I mean, he was making shit. I mean, to say you're making $35 an hour now is good money. He was making that then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, sorry, you got to put 20 grand into your engine in your race car.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, you can't do anything without money. You can't do anything without money. And you're like, to a kid, that doesn't make any sense. Kid doesn't get that. Like, I just want my dad to spend time with me. You know what I mean? Like, let's go do some father-son stuff. But to constantly hear that, oh, well, I gotta work, gotta make money. I'm like, God, I never want to be like that. I never want to be like that. I would rather live in a fucking RV in a trailer park, having just enough money. Maybe have a nice job. I'm not opposed to working. I'm not a lazy fuck, dude. I'll work, but I'd rather live in a fucking trailer park or in an RV with enough money to keep riding my mountain bike, keep working out, keep going to the gym, fucking training, take some classes for whatever I want to do. But like, as long as I'm doing stuff that I enjoy, money don't fucking drive me. As long as I'm doing the things that I enjoy in life.
There's definitely like a cap on money. Like there's a certain amount of money that you can do what you want and not have to worry about having money, right? And then there's also like
stable,
right, and then there's
security.
also like a level where like you just have too much money and you're focused on like you're almost putting like a weird your value to the amount of money you have situation. It's like when you have a boat, but you're trying to get the Excalibur of boats, like. What are we doing here? How is that boat doing for you that the other boat wasn't doing for you?
Again, dude, like you got something to say? No, again, like I'm all for capitalism, dude, because it makes people strive, dude.
Right.
People, I mean, think about it like this, dude. Where in the world are motherfuckers getting on rafts, dude, to escape from?
Yeah.
And no one's doing that here.
Yeah.
No one's
Get on a raft and go to Cuba.
To escape, to go to Cuba. Or to say we're going to raft into Canada. I mean, unless it's like wanted for a crime or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But people aren't leaving this country by the fucking flocking out of here, dude, because they're trying to find a better life. Like, we got it really good here. The problem is, capitalism is a really kind of slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
You want it because it makes you strive for more, which is good. But at the same time, when you do get it all, I mean, shit, there's people driving around in cars that, dude, the cost of that car could fucking buy you a home for guys like you and me, or pay off people's mortgages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess that's like, if that's, I don't know. Yeah, sure, it'd be sick to have, but it's not where my heart's at. It's not what I'm getting out of bed for every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that one other than if you get so much money that's just nothing to you. 200,000 racks is nothing. $500,000 is nothing. So, I don't know. But sometimes those people that make that much money, they could fucking hit rock bottom and they'll get that much money back again.
Yeah, for some people, I think it's the high of it's almost like gambling. It's like the high of making the money, right? Like that's kind of what they're looking for. Instead of a drug, maybe they're looking for the high of the rush of making that money.
Yeah. I mean, I wish that you could teach that, like how to make money like that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would like to learn. But
I'm sure.
I think it's kind of funny because I've read a lot of like self-help books. I've had some people tell me I should be a motivational speaker. I'm like, I haven't succeeded at anything in life to where I feel like I could even put myself in that position to tell you how to better your life. I can't even figure out a better mind. You know what I mean?
It's a weird situation, right? Because like if Tony Robbins, arguably one of the highest like paid self-speaker guys, if he didn't do the self-speaking though, like he wouldn't probably have anything that he was like really good at.
No, absolutely. And that's where like I think that, and there's going to be people who obviously have a disagreement with this statement, but all the self-help books, I've listened to motivational speeches and shit on the internet. Tony Robbins is just another guy. He's a vulture. He's another guy preying on the hopes and dreams of other people. Because every self-help book I've ever read, every motivational speech I've ever listened to, everyone's all saying the same shit.
Yeah.
But they're all telling you the what. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. But nobody can tell you the how. How do you hit that switch in your head that says, I'm going to actually start doing these things?
Well, it's all individualized, right?
But that's what everybody pays to go for.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the what. The what is the same shit your school teachers were telling you.
Yeah.
Here's how to succeed in life.
Right.
But it's the how.
I think that almost goes back to like wanting like an easy fix, like wanting a pill to does everything for you. And the reality is like, I think the idea you got to go into it with those things is that you go and hope for that motivates something in you, but you still got to do
Sure.
it. You still have to hope
Everything
that
exists inside of you, and you have to pull it out.
Yeah.
But that's what they're looking for, is the how. How do we pull that out of ourselves?
Well, that's easier said than done, usually. All right, brother, we actually kept going. It's 2.5 hours, and my thing's like low battery.
All right, we'll stop. There's always another Friday.
No, for sure. We'll have to figure to keep going because we still haven't gotten into special ops, and I'm curious about a handful of things that we'll get into next time, for sure.
All right, yeah, I'm here for about another year down in Arizona.
You finished school then?
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going. I'm an open book. I don't really care. I actually like going to this place. I might stay just to keep going to this place. It's been a struggle, dude. The last 8 months has been kind of tough. I've been kind of a loner for the last 8 months.
Really?
Finally starting to find like a place that I like to go and hang out and learn and train.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's just
Right,
the
right,
gym.
it's the
just
gym, right.
I miss that, dude. I miss being around people motivated to train. And it's a little bit different training, but it's kind of the same thing. Like, I suck at this. I sucked at swimming. Took a long time, but I got pretty good at it. And that's what I want to do with this. Like, I want to get pretty good at it because I like it. It's done something to myself. It's done something to help me analyze myself and say, like, we need to constantly work on ourselves and improvement.
All right, hold on. Let me turn this off. So what we'll do is we'll continue this next time before this thing dies on me,
right.
and we'll do it again. Come on, brother. Yo, what's going on? So hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. I am running low on energy here, so I'm trying to kind of pop these episodes edited and get them ready. Also, I'm running behind, but anyways, you won't feel any of that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. I think the idea for next week's is primarily to release it a week from today. That's mostly due to these episodes being very similar in topics, but I didn't want to group them because they were organically, like I mentioned I think before, they were organically recorded in two different situations. So it's not like I cut one piece of audio or meeting in half and whatever. Primarily because there's so much to discuss. I kept going off on tangents, and you can definitely tell my interviewing skills were quite bad. But it was basically getting my beak wet, if you will. From there, I hope I sound a little better in the upcoming episodes, but there's so much to go over, and I kept getting stuck in the weeds of things, and I tend to do that. I tend to get really in deep and ingrained into something, so I kind of really understand what the experience is like. And so sometimes that slows the tempo. Instead of going through chronologically his history with his military experience, I've kind of kept digging in little things, primarily because I didn't want to forget topics or questions. But the idea, I think, is going to be to release, edit, and release the next episode next week, so you guys can kind of, while it's still fresh in your mind, you can have some content. And there goes my phone once again. And so ultimately, that way you have content at least 2 weeks in a row for this podcast. Moving forward, we'll see. I'm going to tinker with a couple other things that I'm trying to organically bring to the podcast. I think you'll kind of see those as they come out. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you have questions, comments, I'm always up for criticism. There should be links everywhere and anywhere you're listening to this, whether it's iTunes or YouTube or Stitcher or Podbean or whatever. Dude, seriously? I'm trying to record a podcast. There should be links for anything. If not, go to IG, Instagram for you old people. And if you don't know what Instagram is, don't ask me. Forget it. Just leave it alone. Then what you'll do is send me a DM or something. I don't know. Figure it out. There's a way to do it. That's it. I'm going to go edit this. Get some coffee. No. Get some coffee. Then edit this. And then probably go to sleep. I wonder if the coffee's going to affect that. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week.